I just want to make everybody aware that she's going live on the mic and video, just so that everybody in the room's aware we are live on the mic and the video.
Thank you.
What document are we working off of for this meeting, from all the emails that we got?
A lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been here since 7:45. And we got to hear.
That's gonna be a good place to sit. So you're gonna have to
Did you answer back? I haven't been, I was in training today. I didn't see it for a day because when you said that, I'm like, well, I want to see that. Oh, sorry. I did very well. It's supposed to be because it's husband. I know. Not for me. I can be nice to do something. They're going to be nice. And I think I believe it. If anybody does, I believe it would be done.
How long am I supposed to do it?
So what?
December of 2012 to August of 2014.
And I mean, they last. Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I just basically printed out everything that we got. Revenue, is this the revenue? Yeah, current revenue less expenses. Yeah, and because in-car radio, because my portable is picking me up in the state of Windsor. Anywhere I go, my portable will not pick me up.
One of those tilted ones.
He's on vacation. I was taken up to improve. I printed everything because I wasn't sure what I was printing off.
Yeah, I
And you know what's going to take over the road? I stood up and was like, oh, and she looked at I didn't see what I the paper wire. No, I'm not. You know what they're describing? Oh, 1/6 drop?
No, it's actually been about 7 days.
It's an order. All that stuff because he's on the steroids. We have a huge
Okay, everybody, it's 7 o'clock, according to both my clocks. I'd like to call a budget committee meeting, October 24th, in courtroom B to order. Martha, were you the secretary before?
No, Bobby took some notes.
Would you be willing to take notes tonight? Is that too much to ask?
No problem.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, we'll call roll. Give you a second. It's not on the agenda, and most everybody is conscious of it. I mean, you could make sure your cell phones are silenced, because there's a lot of cell phones in here. Sunny here, Julie,
Here.
Chad, Carol, Tim,
Here.
Martha,
Here,
Clark Hamling is the only one missing.
he's on vacation.
Okay, I'll open up the floor to public body comment. Yes.
Okay, so the other night I made a couple notes to ask about. Did we find out anything more on the 22 audit and the single audit? Where are we at on that?
So, I was told by the auditor to not refer to anything as a single audit. That it was, just an audit of the circuit clerk's office. I was told that the heavy lifting of that has been done, compiling that into the paperwork necessary to represent just an audit of the circuit clerk's office is what needs to be done. The findings of that portion of the audit are in the final draft that has been sent to all board members everywhere. So that's one. And
Is that a yes or no?
I'm sorry.
Do we have a final audit done
No,
for 22? Okay.
no.
And the single audit that I was told by the state is required, they're saying that doesn't exist? Or
No.
is that just for the clerk's office?
Right. They're not saying it doesn't exist. I was just told not to refer to it as a single audit by the auditor
Okay.
to prevent some confusion.
Okay.
There is an audit of the circuit clerk's office that has to be done. The heavy lifting of that audit has been done, but it hasn't been put in the format to present to the board, to present to the comptroller
Okay.
what that audit is.
Okay.
I didn't mean to confuse you.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I just knew that when you look at GATA, it talks about, there's certain details in it for GATA. And
And
that's our grant, that's our grant.
correct, nothing's been turned into GATA, nothing's been turned into the comptroller's office. So when I said that the FY '22 audit was complete, I was wrong, it is not complete.
When are they thinking they're gonna get it done?
So, there's 4 parts that are not done. The first part was supposed to have been done today, if not today, tomorrow. The second part is supposed to be done at the first part of next week. The third part is supposed to be done at the end of next week, and then the fourth part should be done within 2 weeks of now.
Okay, and that's when they'll get their final payment, correct?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, but I don't know if they've not been paid. I don't want to say yes to that because I don't know if they've been paid fully or not.
Okay, because one would think that
You,
that would precipitate the payment then. Okay, and then on the 23, did anybody make any calls about the next audit? Tal, you did?
I made 2, he's reached out to 3 or 4,
5.
5.
How were you received?
What's that?
How was it received? I mean, they're.
The one that I received, the one that Mr. Shank spoke of in public body comment at the full board meeting, wasn't derogatory to Shelby County, but they just simply don't do countywide audits. We received confirmation today of another one that he reached out to that doesn't do countywide audits. I haven't received anything back from my second one, but I'll go ahead and let you answer.
I did have one firm reach out that's willing to work with us
Oh, good.
on this going forward. We had a pretty lengthy conversation yesterday. And so we will continue conversation next week when his other partners return to their office next week, and he'll reach out and set up a time.
Okay. And this is just a comment, but I wonder if anybody has considered that some of these meetings need to be pro bono, however you want to call it, because taxpayers have been paying for meetings all year, and a lot of them were very redundant. I think it might be a show of good faith, to say we're going to have a bunch of meetings, folks. That's just how it's going to have to be. To fix this, we have to meet several times. I'm going to defer all payments for whatever, for mileage for the meeting, for only the meeting, whatever. I think that would be a show of good faith to taxpayers. That's up to you guys to decide.
So could you clarify, you're talking about our, like the stipend or whatever we do for meetings? Yeah, I mean, for committee meetings, I guess just for, we have a claim form, we can submit or choose not to submit.
Right.
The board meetings, I asked the other day and received that I can send in a message and request not to be paid, so I've done that. Because I would agree, And some of this, right, is extra, right? It's a little extra that we need to be doing, and I don't necessarily feel that my compensation, I should be compensated for that, so.
Thank you. That's it.
Public body comment? Treasurer?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for getting this budget meeting going so quickly. That's fantastic. And thanks to the new people, or good luck to the new people that are on the crew. I wanted to thank Tim Morris. He tried to do this last week, and we didn't have everybody show up, but he was on it and he knew how important it was. I'm glad everyone's here tonight because it is very important. I am concerned about the 2022 audit. I believe the final payment has been made, and I don't think it should have been. And until the work was complete and it was filed with the state. I would like to know if it had been, but I think they've already been paid, if I'm not mistaken, around $68,000 for 2022's audit. And if we have paid before it was complete, I'd like answers as to why we paid before it was complete. Because it's very, very important that the audit is done. And I'm concerned when people were asking questions about the audit the other day that no one realized that it wasn't done. Board members should know that. That shows a communication breakdown because obviously you thought it was done, and I think Julie said it was done, and it wasn't, and there was no communication there. So going forward, I hope the communication is improved with all the board members so that they're aware when people are asking them and calling out their people in their districts, is the audit done? And you know, if they would have watched the board meeting and they're not watching the budget meeting, they're assuming it's done because that is what we were told. And so people don't like that when you're told one thing and find out it's another. So, and I'm sure you probably didn't like to be told it was done and find out another. But that's a problem. And I don't know how it got communicated to you that it was completed. Why did you think it was completed? How did you get that information? Who said it's done?
Actually, no one. We voted on passing that budget in the full board meeting. And then we received a document, said, I don't remember exactly what it said, but we received the budget, or the audit. I get the two mixed up, I apologize, but we got the audit back. So she talked about a single audit, other people have talked about single audits. I've tried to understand this. It's a lot like drinking from a fire hose right now, and no one actually said it. It was just understood that it was done because we voted on it and it was done. But then when questions started being asked and posed, we got to the bottom of it and found out, well, no, it's not done. So.
Right, and that's what concerns me is that everybody thought it was and that the communication was really broke down there. Because that is such an important thing, to know that it's been filed with the state when your grant funding and different funds depend on that. It's important that the communication is good. And I hope that the communication is with everybody. It seems like before it was only between certain people, and moving forward, it'd be nice if the whole board is in the loop always where you're at. So, I mean, that's fair to the people in the districts. If they're not in the loop, they can't answer good questions for us, and we need to be able to get answers to some of these questions. I know that you don't always like the questions or don't like the statements that we make, but we're concerned with what we've seen, and I think we have reason to be concerned what we've seen. If we paid $68,000 for an audit and it's not filed, I would hope to think that everybody could say, yes, that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Thank you, and thanks again, Tim, for trying to call that meeting the other night. I really appreciate that, and I really wish people would show up when we're talking budget. Okay.
And I can assure you that I have certainly not kept any information from any board member, and I've done my best in the last 48 hours to be as absolutely responsive to any questions that I've gotten that I can. So,
Thank you.
I just had a question, I just listening, I was thinking, how will we be notified whenever it is turned into the state?
I mean, part of this issue, and I've had conversations with different board members, and the audit firm has, and it's always been this way, there's this, because we're a 22-member board, there's a select few people that they'll even talk to. I mean, I've got the receipts I can show you that I tried, it's gotten nowhere. As soon as I had the board chairman email address, they talk to me like we're best buddies now. It's crazy. So you're only gonna find out from me. That's where you're gonna know.
I didn't know whether they registered something with the state and we
Well-
get paperwork back saying it was completed or.
Right, so we actually do have an audit firm that, like he said, gonna be some talks next week. They're actually helping us confirm and do some follow-up education on where to look, how to look, what to look for. So I'll keep you up to date as best I can and keep on this as best I can.
Okay.
I can't speak for the whole board, but I can speak for my own personal audit. I get billed separately. I don't get the invoice until I get my audit in my hand. I turn it in as a separate claim. I'm in charge of making sure that the administrative office bill and reports and the chief judge gets copies of these. So I take care of doing all that
For your
for my
portion.
audit.
Yeah.
And I don't get billed until they bring me.
And you haven't
the
been
audit
billed?
and the bill. I haven't talked to anybody since June of '23.
Okay, so at least we know part of it's not, yeah. And to be clear, the issue is significant because even when the 22 is done, we're already late on the 23. 23 was late August 1, 2024. So we are still not out of the woods. I know there's a lot of focus on FY22 and I can appreciate that, but we are not out of the woods until FY23 is in. So we still have a lot of work to do on that. Any other,
Have you been assured that they're going to finish it? Because
the 22?
the 22, because I thought the board voted on the draft of the 22, and in what I thought was it was finished and
Right.
done.
That's where I arrived at my,
And then I come to find out in the last 12 hours that that is not the case at all. And of course, they've already terminated. They've already,
so they,
so what are they gonna do? Just sit on it and do nothing and tell you, no, you're on your own?
right, for
Which
what
is
it is
what I
worth,
think
I
they-
have spoken to him. I have an email from him that says this is what has to be done and that we're working on. So
Yeah, but we've heard that they're working on it
I
too
understand.
many times.
I will attest to that as well. I don't disagree.
But thank you for telling us what's going on.
Yeah.
I was shocked, because I actually thought it was finished.
I
We
agree.
could all breathe a little easier and then get on with the 23.
Right.
That's not the
Yeah.
case.
I think the firm that Mr. Mayhall spoke to said that where we find ourselves situated is not unique to their industry, to their company. So the initial conversations seem very promising, so fingers
Perfect.
crossed.
Perfect.
Did you have something?
I was just gonna say, when you sent that email out about the audit, and they said they had all the information, if they have all the information, why don't they use it, and why is it taking so long? The ball has been in their court, and we do what they want to do. I think it's time for us to say, this is the deadline, this is when we expect it. Otherwise, they're in breach of this contract.
Well,
They've not done what they said they were gonna do. It's taken a year longer. You know, how many times has he said, I'll have something next week? And then it wasn't, next week goes by and we don't hear anything. But when he said he has this information, use it, get it taken care of, let's do it. I think we need to give them a date. This all needs to be done by the end of this month. That's it. And if you don't have it done, they're in breach,
but
which they are.
I don't know if we've paid them all or not. So
We paid him $68,500.
if we've paid them all, we're at their mercy. And I hate to say that, but that, the next action is litigation. And that's not gonna happen anytime soon.
But would it hurt to say, I think we need a deadline?
Well, he gave me deadlines and
And he
I,
said 2 weeks,
I
you
know,
know, and then it's
I know.
another 2 weeks. I'm sorry,
I
I
know.
keep interrupting, but.
no, it's fine.
it's,
I
um,
understand.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this together, but we've been lied to so many times that it's time they come forward and actually do their job. It can't take this long. I don't know anything about it, but I think I could have had it done in less time. I don't know.
Ted?
Yeah, to be fair to, I guess, to dovetail off of that, is we can have all the conversations in the world next week, and this firm could be willing to do 23. We cannot even begin until we have a product for 22. So we are, as you mentioned, at their mercy, right? We are at a standstill for 23 until 22 is submitted, and we have something to use to springboard off of 22. So the urgency is there.
Yeah.
And I will do what I can to, I don't remember who asked it, but we're all thinking it. I'll figure out the next couple of days if we've paid them fully or not, and
I was just trying to find where the
maybe we
last
can
one was.
have something, otherwise it's just trying to be cordial and
I
pray
think
that
we all
move forward.
thought the audit was the final because the check says,
I promise
final
you I
audit.
did. I promise you I did, so.
it says final audit, and I remember it was like $6,500 or something,
Right.
or 60, I don't know, 6,800, something like that. I just remember that invoice saying for final audit. And so we all assumed it was a final audit, but we never heard anything else. So I think they've had all the time in the world, and we need to give them a time. This is our time, this is when it has to be done, because we've got to get the 23 done. We're at their mercy.
I think Carol's right, because they do work for you. So you give a deadline, because they still work for you if you've paid them. So I don't care what you paid them, if it's full or not, they're paid and they do work for you. So, I mean, what she's saying is right, a deadline.
Any other public body comment?
Can I ask a procedural question?
Absolutely.
When you go through the agenda, when you hit like revenues, are the department heads that are, and elected officials that are here, are we gonna be able to talk about some stuff?
I pray that you will.
Okay, I didn't know if we needed to address those issues first in like the public body comment, or,
No,
because that's, I think, why most of all of us are here.
that's why I invited you all here. Yeah, great question. Alex?
Oh, I just came.
Yeah.
I didn't know, right?
I didn't.
No, sir.
I clicked the tab that said department heads. That doesn't fit you?
According to some people in this county, no, sir.
Madam, I will include you moving forward. I apologize. Sir?
So, I don't know if you were here a couple months back, but there was a budget meeting and Bobby was here, and Mark Bennett was here, and a few other people were here. And it was when they were suggesting about how they deal with the health department, how they deal with the sheriff's office, and they were suggesting budget reductions for non-compliance. And I just wanted that, because somebody said that that's not legal, that you can't retaliate and say we're gonna reduce your budget because you didn't comply with what we wanted you to do. And I don't know how you address the public trust on that issue.
Well, I can tell you that 4 of us were not sitting in those seats during that conversation.
I understand.
That's the only thing I can tell you. I'm not sure that I would be properly equipped to retaliate on someone's budget at this point. We're still trying to understand this, which is why I invited so many of the department heads to come and help us walk through it. So, yeah. Anything else?
No, I wanted to kind of clear the air with it. I know you probably weren't even here at that meeting. You weren't
I
probably even part of those
was
discussions.
in and out, but
So,
I wasn't here during that time. No.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other public body comment? Okay, before we move to item 4, I just want to say, as I said earlier, 4 of us are brand new. This is our first meeting. The other 2, I'm not sure how many times you've been through this process, but this is very complex. I've had conversations this week where, I had a conversation with Ms. Dunaway that was pretty rewarding, but I just had a bunch of questions I didn't understand. So for the department heads that are here, if we ask questions, please help us understand. We're not trying to twist anything around. We just want to really understand what's going on so we can get this done. And department heads, feel free to interject at any point to try to help us better understand what we're looking at so that we don't make any mistakes. So, moving on to agenda item number 4, review estimates of revenue for FY 2025. Sir?
Can I just start off with a question?
Yeah.
So we didn't hire Bellwether for this year,
That's
right?
correct.
So I'm assuming, is it safe to assume in the past they provided these numbers in the past? Can somebody tell me that? So they would work with you as
Yes,
department heads and
we had
provide you?
time and meetings.
So can I then further ask, when they would do that, they would have a conversation with you, and then you would maybe go line by line with like, all right, it's either a rate of inflation, right, CPI, they would use some sort of gauge to justify, expenses increasing or decreasing on particular line items, okay? So then with that, any idea where this came from this year?
This being,
Sorry, the estimates for income.
so the estimates for income came directly from the treasurer's office. She sent one, I believe, today or yesterday. The way you know if it's the most current one is at the top. It will say FY25 estimate, FY24, and then it'll say FY24, 10, 21, 24.
Sure, yeah, that's not the
So-
question I'm asking though. So I have the current one. What I'm
Okay.
asking is how the numbers were generated. So if Bellwether would then get with, if they would be able to forecast not only our estimates for the year for revenue, and then also, cost increases for that.
We did, we got emails 2 days ago.
For the revenue?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess for what part of the revenue would be yours to
I have
submit?
4 funds,
Okay,
so I
So you
got
provide
my
those.
total balance of where I'm at right now divided by 11 more, or vice versa. I figured the math, so
Okay.
I hope it's right. No. I just did the math on what I collected so far compared to last year and used Bellwether's numbers from the year before.
and then if there was a rate of increase for a line item, what did you use then for the revenue side, not the expense side? The revenue side, what was the factor used, or the math used to increase that or decrease that?
I got my totals from the beginning of the fiscal year up until now,
Okay,
so that's 11 months. And then just did the math, and that's where I got you that number.
okay. And then, so that would be your departments,
My 4 funds.
right? And then, who is responsible for, or who comes up with these sales tax estimates? So we have the 24
I don't have a direct
estimate.
answer, but my assumption is the treasurer's office.
Okay.
That's.
And does anybody have any idea how those were factored in? Because the line of questioning comes from lines on here with, some areas are significantly different numbers.
I noticed that as well.
And I'll just start with the one.
Pick one.
Yeah, I will. So if you go to page, yes ma'am.
Do we have that?
You
Are you
should.
looking at,
It's expenses, so it should have a yellow line right down the middle of it with 24.
Yep.
this one?
Yes ma'am.
Okay,
Does this-
I'm on.
Does this column say FY 24, 10?
And 21, 24.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So I'll just move to page 2, slightly past half. 45,200 is the line item.
Yep,
State's attorney's fees
yep.
stands out because the estimate for 2024 was 90,000. The estimate for 25 is 700,000. And so there's a significant difference in the increase to that, which if it's a typo, okay, but if it's a typo, then we get to the bottom line and we have a massive difference, right? And that's just one of some of the ones that have could be significant changes to the overall number. But you're talking $610,000 difference to
Well, that-
potential revenue.
That number seems to have fluctuated dramatically over the last few years. 73, then 112, then 156, and we're currently sitting at 58 when the projection was 90. But then the new projection is $700,000 worth of income.
How would we get 700,000 in income from the state's attorney's office? Do you have any idea, Amanda?
Does that include grants? The grants in there?
I think the grant, like their victim witness coordinator grant, I thought was a different line item on this. But they do get reimbursed from the state of Illinois for victim witness grant funds. But that's, if I recall, one of these reports indicated that amount might be $15,000. I don't know if that also, this would also include forfeitures. Honestly, didn't study anybody else's line items too much, but there would be, yeah, forfeitures of property where the state's attorney's office is entitled to 25% maybe. I can't remember if it's 25% of the total or if it's 12.5%. State's attorney's office would also be reimbursed for the state's attorney's salary.
And I think that that's actually accounted for.
In a different line item.
It is. So, and again, it's just, it's glaring just based on the significant difference, and then the historical precedent going back to 21. You know, it's almost 10 times what 21 would have been, and at its best, it's 6 times, you know, the highest number that we had, which was 23. So, and again, if we have to take that down to even 100,000, that's $600,000 of revenue that we have to reaccount for in this entire number. So that's just one example. And again, our output's only as good as our input when it comes to calculating this.
We're not sure if the opioid settlement is completed, if we've received all of the settlement funds that.
It's on page 3 too, or it's on page 3, Judge.
That is only a portion. I think the chunk, I don't think it's complete, we don't think it's all completed yet. Some's still out. So
Is it possible $625,000?
It's questionable.
Okay. Okay.
But I can tell you that some of these other fees, I don't know where you put these because I don't do this, but I know, Carrie, you run reports, right, for the state's attorney's office with regards to income for the fiscal year, so they know what you've actually collected versus what's been ordered.
I can run a form if they request it. I haven't had anybody request it, they look good.
Yeah. And the other way to get it is through either the circuit clerk or county clerk or through the treasurer. They run reports to see what has been turned over from Carrie's office after collection, and then they'll give us those reports. So I've done that in multiple different ways, but I think it's quite possible that that should be 70,000 as opposed to 700,000.
That's also was my thinking, is that, I mean,
Yeah.
and from your standpoint, you know, in your engagement in their office,
I
you're
think
not.
700,000 is huge.
Okay. Concur, as far as you're aware.
Yeah. It would appear to me it's a typo. Yeah.
All right.
Unless you had just a giant forfeiture of some sort.
Yeah, but we don't get part of that.
What's that?
We don't get part of forfeiture actions. They're governed by statute. There's an X% that goes to the Illinois State Police. There's X% that goes to the law enforcement agency that handled the case. There's an X% that goes to the state's attorney's office for forfeiture fund assets, and then there's an X% that goes to, I believe, the state's attorney and public prosecutor's office, which makes up a total of 100%. So I think it's like 50, 25, 12 and a half, 12 and a half.
So if you divide that by 12.5%, it's an even bigger number than the total settlement would be. Right, so I mean, you're talking millions of dollars at that point on that settlement.
If it was 12.5%, yeah, that'd be.
Well, let me ask.
Mr. Chairman?
Could we ask Erica?
That's what I was gonna
Could
ask.
Martha call Erica and ask her if she thinks this
Get
is a
clarification on these
typo?
numbers.
Or send a text? Would that?
It's
I mean,
perfectly
it's fine, why not?
fine if she wants to call her.
Martha, you want
She's gonna
me, you want me
send her
to
a
text her since you're taking notes?
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
she
I
may
don't
not
know if we're
remember
gonna
that
accomplish
she won't.
everything tonight.
I'm gonna
But
send
these
her-
are big
I can
rocks.
assure you we're not done, but that's a great question, because that takes that 7.2 number down to 6.6.
And the same thing with replacement tax income, or replacement tax is 40 grand. There's a 80,000 in the Illinois income tax. There's 120,000 in the sales tax. Decrease.
Yeah, I noticed that number has been not, well,
What
I-
line item number are you looking at, please?
I'm on the first page. I'm sorry, I should have, yes.
That's okay, if you just go by the number on the line item number, it'll be easy to find.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start at the top then. So I'll go 440 and then 450, both of those being blank.
So they estimated that, I don't know what those funds are, they estimated it, but there has been nothing to date
Right.
in that column, so I don't know if there's just an election to not estimate them.
I don't know. And then 4,100, which is real estate tax distribution, stayed flat. And can you weigh in on that? At all, like real estate tax distribution, like why we would have a flat number versus increase or decrease? No, okay. And I'm asking just because I'm flying blind on some of this, so.
I don't know what the tax amount was. That was
It's just been pretty
I
consistent.
mean, I've got the number consistently through the years here, but it's just, and maybe that's traditionally is we just go flat from one year to the next as
The
far as
one
an
that you're
estimate.
specifically asking about, I'm writing down. Let me see.
I guess the actual first big number that I have is there.
Oh, here, Carrie's got it.
I mean, historically, that number's been 1.95, 1.97, 1.95. Year to date, we've collected 1.88.
Okay,
They
so,
projected 1.94 and then another 1.94, so
45,200 is a typo. It should be 70,000, not 700.
Okay. That's a significant adjustment to
6.629.
revenue.
That's a treasure question.
And again, maybe for the sake of time here, we can get more clarification on some of these numbers and where they were generated and maybe get an update.
I've
on
actually
that.
asked that question before, with regards to your 4220, 42030, 42040, how that works.
Mhm.
And before Bellwether, whose numbers you see to the right-hand side, since Bellwether's been here from 21, 22, 23, and 24, or whatever. The way that the treasurer used to do it was that she had a spreadsheet of multiple years. And she would make the calculations by the amount of money actually received and for the year, and then she would compare it against the multiple, like 5 years going before it, to come up with a trend of which way that line item is going, up or down. And then she would calculate it as closely as possible to the trend, the actual number trend that she has seen.
Okay.
So if you want a spreadsheet, or not a spreadsheet, but if you want to ask her, she's going to tell you exactly what I just told you.
So many of these numbers are based on trends.
Yes, but she's not going to be able to tell you, I don't think, any number produced by Bellwether. Because that was not produced by her. She can tell you what she did this time and what she used to do before Bellwether came in. But how those numbers in these other fiscal years that Bellwether did, you're going to have to call and see if Bellwether will tell you.
Well, and then there's, if we can, view this a line at a time, there's a lot of differences, a lot of similarities, some reductions, some increases. What are we looking at? 30 more days worth of revenue? 12-1, yeah. So I mean, this 1021 technically has 60 days worth of revenue left in it, that column. Potentially could increase in revenue over the next 60, but it's probably about as close as it's gonna get when you're guessing. Now, I'm assuming State of Illinois Technology Grant, anybody that
Is that you?
What is it?
State of Illinois Technology Grant,
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, if you look down there, line 26, 43080. So you're gonna get a grant this year, or you're expecting one?
We're expecting one, but that number that's in there,
Mm-hmm.
that was a, what maybe was reasonable, but it was not a number that was, it's not a for sure number. And it's very likely that you should amend that line item to show $150,000.
Hey, we're getting somewhere, 700 back.
But that money is then.
What line item are you on?
26, 43080.
But that money would be, it's restricted money?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so this was the issue at one of the board meetings, right? Like, I don't know how much. I didn't even know if we were going to have another grant this year from the administrative office. But the suggestion was that I just come up with a number so that's what I did. And then, which I said I don't want to do in the first place, but we'll do it this way. I met with one of the companies last Thursday to do a walkthrough for an estimate that would qualify for the technology grant. And with the technology that's, newer technology that's out there and additional things that this specific company can do for us, it's probably gonna be a lot bigger. And the only reason why I'm choosing 150,000 is because the very first grant that we applied for was a big install, and it was $127,000. So I'd rather be on the top end to be able to accept all the money, that whatever grant money we are, and then turn around and budget on the expense side for the full amount, so that I don't have to come to a meeting in March and ask for you to amend the budget to accept the revenue and to amend it to expend it. But, so I'd rather go bigger. I don't think it's gonna be more than 150,000, but I still don't know. I don't have the quote, it's not supposed to be ready for 2 more weeks.
While that money would be, as you say, restricted, it still goes in the general fund, so that helps us balance the budget, if you will. And I know she's right, if we don't have it in the budget to take, we struggle to take it. And if we don't have it in the budget to spend, we struggle to spend it. So, yeah, all valid. Judge, would you like to see this raised to 150 in the estimated?
I think it should be. Because if I get $80,000, I mean, it doesn't affect the revenue, we're still in the black.
Right.
But to go to expend $80,000 when I've only budgeted for 40 looks just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tad, on the question of the line 4100, the real estate tax distribution, why there might not be any change, I asked her about that, and hold on, I can't get it to open. She said, I have no idea what the levy will be. We don't usually get the full levy because of certificates of error. And she said that can be changed if you all have an idea of the levy. So she probably just copied it from last year to this year because I put a number in there.
Okay, yeah. And that's, the levy's a separate topic.
Please don't
We'll have to breach that later.
Thank you.
So I guess for the sake of this, and again, trying to, especially with respect to time of the department heads that have been here, it sounds like we need to have a further discussion, maybe offline, about the revenue and tightening up those numbers. So if it's possible, unless there's more questions on revenue side, if we could respect their time and let them get into their individual budgets and have a discussion about those, it might benefit everybody.
I don't disagree. I did see an email, I think you all saw it as well. I think I sent it to you. There was a reference made that our primary concern as budget committee and what we're passing is to make sure that we're balancing the general fund budget and not necessarily be spending a lot of time on special budgets and unique individual offices' budgets as much as just focusing on the general fund budget. So I'm still learning what all that means, I'm just passing it along, I think I sent that to everybody. Anybody else have anything they want to discuss about estimates of revenue for FY 2025? Department heads good? Okay.
Don't you have?
Are you saying?
You're
Well, I have additions that are already put into my budget that are grant funded.
good? Oh,
And then,
but shouldn't those be on revenue?
well, the one of them, which was the MAR grant, which now has $110,000, we're on our third year of that. I still do not have a basically expenditure line for that grant.
So there's a MAR grant line here, but there's no money there, that's what you're saying?
No, there's money, there's 110,000.
No, I meant on the line.
Oh,
On the revenue.
Oh, I see, on the line, okay.
There's a line on it for revenue, but it
Is
has.
that the opioid
settlement?
No, the opioid has its own.
Right, I've
So is
been
the
awarded
one grant
50,
specific
I've
to the
been awarded
sheriff's
30, and I have
department, or is
another
that just a
30
general
coming,
fund
which
grant?
equals 110.
So 49,325 needs to be for fiscal year 25, $30,000, right? Because you.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
Is
yes,
what,
30
50,
addition, yes,
30,
30,
30.
correct.
Yeah, 30,000.
So MAR grant needs to be
MAR grant.
30,000.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Can you explain what that is in brief terms?
yeah, it's medical assisted recovery, and again, it is a restricted grant that we apply for that has, rules on what we can spend the money in. We have to track the expenditures and we have to report those to basically back. It's through the Illinois Department of Human Services to the jails.
So you anticipate seeing an additional $30,000 into that fund next year?
Correct, which would have me up to 110,000
In that
in that
fund?
In that fund.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that, I guess, for sake of discussion then, is that's what you'll receive, but you've already got. Like, what would be the shortfall or the problem with allocating 110?
Well, we're not gonna get 110 in.
But we have it, is what I'm getting at. And does it have its own separate account somewhere?
That, I do not have an expenditure line for this grant, and that's been the problem why we haven't spent any of it, because I didn't have a
That's the
line
same
item for
thing
it.
I asked for on the opioid when I came to that meeting, was to set up an expenditure, so I'm assuming he would need the same thing.
So a separate account and an
He needed
expenditure line.
Expenditure line for that. But
Yes.
then mine's different, I don't know if it's in there, I haven't
Well,
looked to see that
actually,
they set up
this
that
should be
expenditure
included.
line, but that's all he's needing is to be able to spend it.
The opioid is about 25,000.
It's got 95,000 in it now.
That's just forecasted for this year.
It's probably bringing in 25,000 a year.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, I just want to make sure there's an expenditure for that fund as well.
So you're satisfied that opioid settlement this year is gonna be 25,000 additional?
Yes.
Sorry.
Right.
I'm not sure.
But I guess for the sake of discussion, is if she says that she's already got 95.
Well, it's not mine, it's the sheriff one.
So-
There's other individuals coming.
Which one are you talking about?
Oh, so, but between opioid and then the MAR grant, you've had previous deposits into that
Yes,
for that, but we're not reflecting that at all, that it can be used for its intended purpose.
Correct.
correct.
But do we,
You need a line
does
item.
that need to be reflected in annual revenues?
Well, it probably should have been in the revenues in previous years as well as in their budgets to be able to spend that accordingly in previous years, and it's not been.
So this shows that we received 30 in '24,
Mhm,
and it shows that we received 50 in '23.
mhm. But he doesn't have an expenditure item in his budget.
Sure, but and I agree, we probably should add a MAR line in the budget. I get that, in the expenditure side of it. But as far as the income side of it, we've tracked that.
Yes,
I don't think that we should make this 30 for FY '25, say 110.
No, you're right.
Yeah, because we've tracked it previously.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And we've shown 45,692 and 52,734 for opioid settlements. So we're showing the income, we're just not spending it. So that's,
Because they can't.
sure,
That's, yeah, the expenditure.
and that's a conversation for the expenditure side. Yeah, I agree. That's what you talked about at the finance committee a month ago, probably.
Yes, there are two local agencies who want to request some of that money.
Yeah, right, right.
I have a question. So were those two line items, the opioid and the MAR, were they intended or received to supplement expenditures that already have line items?
No,
Okay.
all that, those are grants, so they work just like most other grants from the court services side of, or judicial branch. All of those have to be tracked. So it's like purchase this, purchase that, and then that all has to be kept separate so that it's easy to understand what money is being spent where and to report it to the state of Illinois. For him, it's the Department of Human Services.
Opioid's a settlement.
That's a settlement. My grant technology has to be reported to AO. So for the sake of easing this discussion, for MAR grant, MAR grant should be set up exactly like the technology grant that I have. In and out. MAR grant should be in and out. It's missing, we'll fix it later, no big deal. Opioid should be the same thing, because it is restricted though on what you can spend. So it should be set up the exact same way. Opioid in, opioid out. But we can fix, that can be fixed by whoever is it.
The opioid is a grant,
No.
It's a settlement.
but it can only be spent on certain things like, same as the MAR.
And
Okay.
has to be reported back to the government
Okay.
through the treasurer's
Just
office.
clarification on exactly what MAR is.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
It's
So-
24 and 25.
So, Sheriff, could you, so with MAR, so I remember expenses we discussed in finance earlier this year regarding medical. Is that what that would have been used for, when we had inmates that had medical needs? or-
No,
Okay,
if the medical need was related to, if they needed Suboxone or some type of opioid antagonist, we could use it for that. There's many other things, there's a whole list of things that we can use it for, including part of the salary for my program manager,
okay.
which is the jail administrator.
So I want to ask one final time, just for clarity. The MAR grant, the opioid settlement money, cannot replace funds that were spent prior. It has to be for funds moving forward. Correct. So we can't absorb the money and use it for something that we've already spent. We have to absorb the money and then spend it on new projects related to medical assisted recovery and the opioid crisis. Did I understand that right? Okay, thank you for the clarification.
We just need to get their budget amended to add that as an expense item.
Yeah, is that our job to do that?
They have not allowed to do it, so.
Well, I understand.
It is our job to
Okay.
approve it. If we can give them the thumbs up to put it in there, it's our job to approve it.
Okay. Any more conversation on review estimates of revenue? I don't want to shut anybody up, but it's been productive. We have a lot more questions than we have answers, which is not fun, but we're getting there. Okay, agenda item number 5, review preliminary FY 2025 budgets. I put plural on that, as submitted by county department heads. From the time of creating this agenda until now, the clerk was able to produce some facsimile of a potential budget that is more concise than, I've printed out everybody's budgets and it's very challenging, I assure you. So everybody have a copy of that.
Is that the one-page budget summary?
I'm working on that.
Is this the one you're talking about, or are you talking about this one? Okay.
What is that summary called in
This,
Word?
this one here.
FY 25 budget summary
Oh.
is what it's called.
I don't happen to know which one of the 55 emails we got that was in.
Right. It would have been one today.
Okay.
It's the one with the BTD 1024-24 FY25 budget summary and the estimated revenue.
BTD 1024?
Yeah, it's in that packet.
Ah,
Should be second page. If that's what we're talking about.
is that what you're talking about?
No, that's the year to date.
It's in
This
this
one,
one,
Judge.
Sunny.
I think that's what we're
Okay, hold on. It was sent 8:51
What's the
AM
name of
today.
the, what's the name of the?
Budget expenses to date.
No.
No,
The document name is FY space 25
Are you
budget
looking at
summary.
your email?
budget summary. Ah, this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's what you're talking about.
Well, this is what the clerk was able to put together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Budget summary. Here, find it?
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, it came out today.
Okay,
There's 3 attachments in the email.
yeah.
Okay.
I found the one prepared for October 24, 2024 budget meeting.
Yep. Okay.
So,
Oh,
these are general,
I missed that.
well, this is somewhat more confusing than all of the 1,000 individual ones. Anybody on the committee have anything, or any of the department heads want us to pay attention to something that we're not? I don't know how else to ask that question.
I do.
Go ahead.
At the bottom of the page, 063 and 064. Pub Def Fund, which is
Yes.
the public defender fund money
Yes.
that we get. That is highlighted,
Yes.
yellow and blank.
Yes,
Needs to be added in there, 86,000.
hang on.
Are you starting with 6.3, Judge?
63, yes, sir.
Okay, so 063
Yes,
would
sir.
be, how much?
$86,065.57.
86,065.57? Is that correct?
Yes.
Let me use that one more time, please.
86,065.57 on line 063. And then 064 is Pub Def Auto.
And it's automation. I think the public defender budgeted $400 in and budgeted $400 out. I think it's fair to just put 400 in because that is a new fund created approximately 2 years ago by the state and by a statute. So it's like a $2 fee that's collected. I can't imagine that fund even has $1,000 in it. So it's not much you can do with that kind of money for automation, which is scanning, technology type related things, especially since we get tech grants right now, and we use those funds for all of the court services offices.
And Mandy, you said $400 in that fund?
That's what he budgeted
Okay.
last year, and he hasn't used any of it according to the BTD 1024-24, so the year-to-date stuff. And I would note, going back to that one line item, I just thought of it, the number that I had you write down, the 86,000, that's the money that we'll receive this year, but we are going to have some left over from last year.
And is that to pay for the salary as well as expenses in that office?
No,
Okay.
that is actually used, so if you know that in the 029, which is the general expenses, not separately, okay, there is a fund line in there called appointed counsel. So when the public defender is conflicted, or he's in a case but we need other attorneys, we used county general fund appointed counsel to pay the attorneys. Now, the state of Illinois is giving us this $86,000 last year and this year, and we're using that money to pay for the court-appointed attorneys first before we use the Shelley money, 029. We're using, instead of going to our taxpayers' money, how about that? I'm using the state's money first, which is the whole state taxpayers' money, before I use Shelby County taxpayer money. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you. And then can you tell me, so we're projecting that to come in from the state. Can you point on the revenue piece where that would be reflected?
It is on the first page.
Uh, 43060 is public defender's salary.
That's not it.
Um,
I'm not seeing it right quick.
I'm not either, that's why I'm asking if we're possibly missing a line item on.
If you go down to, it's line number 116 in the spreadsheet, but it says public defender automation, and it's got the $400.
Yeah, he's on the public defender fund monies from the state, which would be that 86,065.57 on the estimated revenue sheet that we first talked about under the revenue agenda item.
Can you control F the dollar amount?
I tried.
What line item did you say it is on the revenue sheet?
I don't think it's
We
on
can't
the
find
line
it, that's
item.
what we're
Oh,
trying to
okay.
That's the public defender's.
find. That's just the budget,
Budget.
but on the revenue, I'm not seeing the line item that brings it into.
There's a line item 43030, and it says State of Illinois / sheriff, and it has $86,000.
Yeah, it's not that.
Okay.
It would say public defender fund,
It'd have to say.
so that would need to be added to the revenues.
So, yeah.
Unless that is,
Oh. Are you not gonna write any?
I'm budget qualified.
Oh.
That office hasn't qualified for grants for years.
So I guess we just need to make a note
to add that to
to
revenue.
add that to revenue. Well, as we go through the rest of the revenue items that need to be maybe tightened up, we just have to have somebody. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, yeah.
This is all the revenue stuff, and then I've got another one for the
Section.
budget stuff.
Recognized tax, 063.
Do I?
I heard the judge say question. Ms. Harlow, did you have a question?
Only to say I couldn't find it, so on the revenue, so we'll need to add that 86,065.57 to revenue, if that's the way it's gonna go, to match the expenditure in the FY25 one-page budget summary, and I'm trying to pull that 63 up right now. Is that what it is, 063?
So Julie has that wrote down, so we're going to
How
get
come on
into
this one it says?
When we get,
Special fund.
as far as we're gonna get through this tonight, I'll type this up and send it out to everyone.
068, because it's 068 Department 063. So with expenditures, I can tell you year-to-date, that budget still has, this year, $21,331.24. So really, we could budget expenditures for 25 in your one-page sheet, whatever those numbers added together are.
Amanda, can you repeat that number, 21?
$21,331.24. honestly, I think it'd probably just be easiest to budget like 20,000 to 106,000. Because everyday bills come in. I'm gonna pay a conflict public defender under contract, another $2,500 for, October. And then I'll submit, then we'll pay him again in November, so that's $5,000 that's gonna come off that 21 that's still left.
So those two numbers together total 107,
I'd say just-
39, 61.
If we're wanting to get it done quicker, I would prefer to just budget for that number for expenditure. Because it won't be over that, I won't have those funds available. But to be on the safe side and to get this completed, seems like that might be the easier route to do it than guess what my end of the year number will be,
Okay.
which would be too late for the budget.
So you're amending the number that's going into the public DEF fund line item 063 to, hold on a second, Julie. You need to amend this number in here. 107,
396.61.
thank you.
And then 64, we're good, right, 400.
Yep.
064, pub, deaf, auto.
It needs to be added into the one-page summary, but we know the number is 400 and is there. Okay.
I wonder why those are highlighted.
Because she didn't have the numbers until I provided, or the public defender provided, but the public defender is at a mandatory conference for the last 2 days.
Okay.
So,
Well, the PCOM and the county board lines are highlighted, but then they got numbers in them, that's what confused me. So I'm looking at that one page, all the way at the very bottom. Budget general fund, 8195, 644, offset by revenue expectations of 6156040.
Which is all right.
Which, right, when I look over here at total general fund, making the changes that we've made tonight, we're at 67, 69, 814.
Is that you removing
I
$630,000 from?
I took and added the technology grant to 150. I took the state's attorney's fees from 700,000 down to 70. And then I, per the sheriff and the judge's request, I made the MAR grant line item say 30. And that is a total of 6769814.
152.
Okay, before we get to the total, did we want to go through these others in case we need to amend any of these others?
Others, well, I'm just,
One-page summary?
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the total down here at the bottom and just saying that that revenue general fund isn't accurate, it's 600,000 solved.
Mhm. But we may have changes, so.
I mean, yeah, go ahead, you have the
Okay.
floor.
No, I'm just saying, do you want to just start at the clerk, county clerk, and is that how you do these?
So I guess from my perspective, unless you guys brought adjustments to yours, these numbers are true and accurate, right? The only ones that needed filled in were the ones the judge just
Okay.
gave us, unless I'm misunderstanding, because
Now-
those are the only gaps we had in the.
Are the number on the one-page summary supposed to equal the number in the multiple-page budgets that you sent us?
bottom line.
Mine did.
Yeah, that's the bottom
For
line
my
number.
25 year, my estimate matches.
Which one are you looking at? Just
Well,
pick the
I'm
right
just
one.
looking at the county clerk's office, and I added up at all the ones that are highlighted there. And unless I'm missing a page or something, they don't.
My clerk one says 454,809.
Yeah, okay, so if you look at the budget, and this is just that office, because it happened to be on top.
Yep, that's where mine, that's my one.
Like if you add these numbers together,
Well, that's the circuit clerk,
well,
and that's the double.
okay, well, that's why, never mind.
Yeah,
I really thought it said county clerk.
no.
Okay.
So circuit clerk, that's Miss Kingston? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so Carrie's then should say, yes, got it, okay.
There's not a ton difference, about $20,000 difference. Your contingency jumped a bit.
I had to use another fund because we didn't have enough to cover, so that's why.
What is contingency? Can you help me?
When I go to any kind of, I have to go to meetings.
Oh,
I have to
okay.
do continuing education, hotel rooms, like when you called me about the hotel room.
Okay,
Yeah. Hotel rooms, fees to attend the
sure.
seminars, mileage to get there.
I see, everybody has equipment rental. Is that our printers and stuff?
Our copiers are leased.
Yeah,
So
that
most of
number
the
just
stuff
keeps
is they're
climbing.
leased, so you have a,
Not everybody leases equipment, the public defender bought the machine,
Oh,
but that was that was not taxpayer money that was used, that was grant funding.
that was that thing you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yes, sir.
that. Anything you want to draw our attention to?
I just
or-
wanted to point out that the only reason why I raised up the one by 25% was because my software provider hasn't increased their budget in 10, 15 years, and they let us all know that they would be increasing costs by 25%. That's why I raised mine so much.
And what line item is that?
It was the one that was
Very bottom.
43,
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
25%,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I put a note up to the side, the reason why is because,
And what is that?
our judicial software,
Okay.
our judicial information management
Yep.
system.
I understand. So your total budget is gonna be a combination of 335, 876, and 43,750, right?
With various other things, yeah. I mean, the one that I turned, I think mine, the one I turned in was actually, bring it up.
Well, I see the clerk on the single page. Where would that
So like
automation be?
I have my proposed budget that I submitted, and it looks like it's
This is her,
probably
Yeah, I was looking on the single
335,000.
page where
335,
this is.
876 was what mine.
I see the,
so Carrie, should we add the 43,750?
That actually comes from a different line item.
which
So we
is
don't
not
add that
a
into
general
your
fund.
budget?
That's a special line item, it's the automation, so if you look under
Okay.
special funds, it comes in, that automation is one of the special.
So that's
funds.
why it's not
Okay.
the general fund.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
But should it
So that's a
be
fund that I
here?
collect through
No,
the year, and I
because
think
this
that
is
might
just
be the one I have to
general
get
fund.
my
I
county
understand
judge
that.
to
If
sign
I'm
off
wrong,
before I can
someone
spend
correct
it.
me. Sorry about that.
That's the account also that I can't spend any money unless I have written consent from the chief judge, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the coroner,
Well, the coroner's not here. I was trying to pick on people that were here.
I got it, but there's a discrepancy of 20,000 in his, because he hand wrote in.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. We can-
Well-
we can call him and
Yeah.
Okay, so
give
we
these
can,
people, give everybody the
Sure.
benefit of the doubt.
There was a difference there of like $29,000. State's attorney's not here. Highway's not here. SOA, you're here.
yeah.
I didn't add, well, and I asked her why her budget increased by $186,000. That was an interesting conversation.
I said my math didn't come out. Right.
My math wasn't mathing. Yeah, so, the only thing that was really substantial that I noticed was your chief deputy clerk line item and your deputy clerk line item. Those combined for an increase of 25,000 over last year. Most everything else that I could compare, except for printing, stayed fairly flat, except for the GIS expenses, so, yeah. Overall, once we finally got to the bottom of it, it's an increase of about 40,000 over last year's, budgeted amount, so I'll let you offer whatever you want to offer.
Well, in those deputy clerk and chief deputy, yes, I did raise those. I have lost numerous employees that have been trained, schooled, and over the last couple years. And I need to keep my employees, and when they have noticed and people being hired in at a higher rate, just coming in, than they are receiving now when they've been here 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I felt like they deserve that because they do work hard. They do have to do continuing education, as I do. And I felt like I needed to keep my good employees, so I need to pay them, compensate them, so.
Is your office in the ASME contract?
Yes, I have 2 employees.
So, I hope you'll, I'm just curious how a new hire would be being paid more than,
Not in my office.
Oh, okay.
In other offices.
oh, okay, I understand.
And they felt,
Short change.
yes, sir. Especially, yeah.
Your,
I can't afford to lose any more employees.
no, I understand. Your GIS expense jumped $4,000. Help me
Well,
understand
I
that.
have an employee that gets paid out of that
Okay,
because she does all the mapping. Okay,
okay.
so her,
So that's just more part of
Yes,
salary, more or
yes.
less. Okay.
Can I ask you a question on that, Debbie?
Yes.
Is that a separate fund though? That's not,
that is
GIS
correct.
is not general
GIS
fund,
is
right?
not- you
So
are
we don't
correct.
budget that?
Correct.
Okay.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, just because I was
That's
looking at the
funded
number
by-
above and that was in the,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
document that Jessica sent us in that, so I just want to make sure.
Anybody have any questions?
And I do pay for all my GIS upgrades and everything for GIS, all of that. And there is I am planning on doing some updates with that, and it will cost more yearly to our vendor for these upgrades too, so I did budget more for that.
Any other questions for Ms. Dunaway? Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, my printing and postage, of course, I am required to do all those things, and those, of course, postage is up
I
and.
bought stamps. They're
Yeah,
not cheaper.
I know.
The next one in my stack is probation, and since this right here, what I noticed on this was about a $21,000 increase from last year to this year. This looks like a lot of salary stuff, so it's,
So the first 3 salaries are 100% reimbursed by the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts. They're fully funded, 100% funded.
okay.
We were all, we have performance appraisals, so the first 3 line items, everyone has a performance appraisal. After that appraisal, you get a cost of living and then a multiplier on that. Everyone exceeded expectations on their performance appraisal and were given an 8% raise. So that was approved by the Chief Judge.
So that's the 162 versus 178 number?
Yes.
And that really, while it's on your budget, it doesn't come out of our general fund at all?
Well, you guys pay and it's reimbursed, so.
Sure, right,
Yes,
right,
but
okay.
it is 100% funded again this year. So that first 16,000 is the increase is not come out of county taxpayer. Again, like the judge said earlier, state money, not locals.
Well, then, in fairness, since I said it, that takes your $21,000 increase down to 5.
$5,000 increase.
Yeah.
And the one, I have the same expense as Carrie. We use the same software. Jim's is our software provider. And we
Okay.
are getting that same increase, so that technology software, I do lease my copier. And, sorry, I lease my copier. I don't know.
There was one 50510, that's not saying that right, 50510.
That's ARPA. I don't know, I didn't put that in my budget last year. I didn't ask for that to be there. Bellwether placed it in each of our budgets.
Oh,
But I do not receive this money, but each employee gets, is it $1? $1 an hour out of ARPA funds. That's part of that contractual thing that you guys extended until the end of November.
okay.
So each one of them gets $1 an hour out of the ARPA funds.
Until November, and then that,
Yes.
so that doesn't need to be.
So that would not be in there as far as I understand.
Okay.
And again, that's just for my staff, I did not receive that.
Capital expense moved from 016011
Which
of
one was?
$3,000. That's a very new line.
Yeah, I'm asking for a new line item. I am moving, training, I believe is what it was. I didn't type the names on it, did I?
It says new line item training.
Yes.
Okay, so there was a previous expense line item.
So I have the 016030 budget as well, the probation fee fund.
Okay,
Training has been paid out of that in the past. Administrative Office, Illinois Courts, they're only approving uses out of that fund for clients. So there's some argument, I believe it's in the Supreme Court, a discussion of what can come out of that fund anymore, because a lot of times we used to use it for transportation. Well, they're saying just clients. So I took the training portion for ourselves, because we're required to have 20 hours of continuing education every year, anything, and I moved it, they're calling it a capital expense now, that's where they want it. So I don't know if you saw my annual plan letter that was approved, which you were the chairman, so you probably did not. Jessica has a copy on file. Our annual plan was approved.
okay.
So that means all the salaries are coming in. It also means we also got commended for moving everything that wasn't client related out of probation fee fund and over to. So last year, I think I moved officer safety over. This year, I'm moving training over because that's to train myself and my officers, not for clients.
Okay. Is that something that we need to do to create that line, or is that line been created and you're just
I'm requesting that you approve me having
to
Jessica.
do that?
Yeah.
And if we
Jessica will
say,
set it up.
if we pass this budget with this new request, then it'll happen.
Jessica will do it, yeah.
Okay.
And then, so that, yeah, that was training. I have 83310 went out, which is officer safety. Okay, so finally with the weapons policy and everything being provided, I have another officer who's requested to carry a firearm. I'm gonna have to turn around and buy all that equipment. And so I'm asking for additional funds on that, and I still don't have a few things done for myself because I'm working on a credit card policy with the chief judge, hopefully making some changes, so I haven't purchased everything yet.
Any questions for, go ahead.
Do you have an income or a revenue line item? Because if you have money that's coming in to offset these expenses.
Not on this, so the 011 is what the county funds me. So if you look, out of my entire budget, the county funds the probation department $74,000 a year. That's all I ask out of the county funds.
So that's why then I go to the one pager. We're saying general fund is 252,550 for that office.
That's where we keep our salaries, because you're paying it out of the general fund, it's just coming back, so they budget the whole.
Right, but what I guess what I'm saying is we're not showing it on the revenue side, so it's off balance.
Oh, yeah.
It's off balance by $180,000.
I didn't do a revenue before, yes.
Okay, so we're,
So revenue, probation needs a revenue line.
Right, for whatever the state is then covering.
100%.
It's 100% of the salary.
And I have. the-
probation, I see a line item for probation shortfall.
That's, so, we don't have a shortfall because we're gonna be paid at 100% this year, but I have to budget for one every year.
Probation contract with the county.
So the only time that I can pay officer salaries is if there is a shortfall in the funding.
So there is a line item 43010, State of Illinois probation salaries. Looks like right now it's got in there 164,850.
43,
You're right.
oh,
43010. So from what she's showing us, it
Oh.
looks like we need to increase that to 178,000.
It may be a little less, I rounded up just to be safe.
Martha, what's that line item?
43010.
all the way up there around 20.
Yeah, it's line 20.
I just don't.
Okay, that's all right.
Well,
I just
if
want to.
I at least take it to 178, which is on her budget, that's gonna make it more reflective down below, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So, back to just the county one. The only increase, so I had the gym's maintenance software in my $5,000 increase, the upfront cost for more equipment for officer safety, moving the capital expense, and then I did do an increase on my deputy clerk as well, simply bringing her to $20 an hour.
But technically, the $3,000 is an increase in last year's budget only on paper. It's not really an increase in your office because it was coming from somewhere else.
It was
Right.
coming out of a funded.
Right. And then the $1,500, I mean, that's easy to swallow, and then you're just gonna pay the gym's fee, so.
I don't have a choice, they've
Yeah.
increased by 25%, and then again, like I said, the raise on hers, each officer was given an 8% raise based on their performance appraisal. Hers was just simply to get her to what I thought was a fair living wage of $20 an hour.
Any other questions for her?
Did you have any on the other funds?
What other funds?
016030, I mean, these
Wait,
are funded.
What page would that been on?
It would have been right after her probation. It had general probation.
So
and-
that's gonna be on yours, 01603005, or 016030, is it? I don't have the document.
Yeah.
Well, you give it to her before I can see what it's
So the
like. What's it look like?
0301, the probation fee fund, right?
Okay, hold on.
It was right after this one.
Was it?
So all the probation ones were together. So we had the general, then we had probation fee, then drug testing.
Those are, I have 4 more, yeah.
Mine
went to animal control for some
Drug court.
Yeah, mine was animal control as well.
And then victim impact. Hearing.
Surely it's in here. Public defender? No.
If you had the probation one, the general, it was after all that stuff.
Well, when you see it, you'll yell, right? Probation, there it is, right? Yeah.
And it, look, they've got more.
Oh.
There's like 5 of them. I think we did too much. There's 6 of them altogether.
Drug testing.
Yes.
Victim impact.
impact.
That's expenses not separately. Victim
Well, I
impact.
also submitted, and I'll get to that on the.
Drug court. Now I'm finding. Okay.
They actually, I mean, you're looking really hard, but they all remain the same.
Oh, okay.
Actually, one decrease, I'm just asking you to budget that set amount for drug court. It's funded, again, there's, I think 50-some thousand in that account. The only thing I have on 016030, I believe the last balance was $450,000. The treasurer and I had a discussion, and we put $300,000 of that into a CD with approval from a judge. So we put $300,000 into a 13-month CD that should make about $15,000. That money, by statute, can be taken and placed in the general fund to offset any of the costs then for my department. So that $35,000, I'm sorry, yeah, $74,000
Right.
in the county funded budget,
That's right.
we will now be getting you $15,000 of that back by
Okay.
placing that money. The only thing I ask is that there's a paper trail, that no money's moved from that account without my signature or the chief judge's signature. I cannot remove funds like Carrie from that account, even though the statute authorizes it to go to the general fund. We just still need to do a claim for moving it because he has to sign off on it. So it should make you, it's been making about $2,000 a year, so it should make you $15,000 to counter some of the increases that I did have.
What do we need to do to make that happen?
Nothing, the treasurer and I have it worked out.
Okay.
I just need to make sure that it's understood, and then we're gonna set something up through the chief judge's office,
as far as
Yeah.
what it formally looks like. But I just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. But she found a way to make $15,000.
Where'd the 300,000 come from?
Those are probation service fee funds.
Okay.
So that's the fund where I said everything has to be used for clients.
What's that?
Just restricted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's all restricted.
Well, I'm not looking for it, I'm just
No.
curious where it come from, that's all.
And then drug testing, those are all, so these are paid in offender fees through Carrie.
Okay.
Office, Ms. Kingston's office, down into the treasurer's office. She tracks all my money, I don't handle any funds. But I did not ask for, I actually asked for a decrease in one of them, so. Mostly because I moved the capital, the 3,000 in capital expense to the 011.
Any other questions? Ms. Wade?
A comment?
Okay. I added it back in, it's fine.
Good deal on your people, on your officers scoring high and getting
Oh.
raises.
Right.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that we got 100% funded as well, and our annual plan was approved, and my officers have done a really good job at training and staying up on top of stuff, so, yeah, thank you.
Also reflects leadership, told you that before.
And I have two more, and it's in the 029. That's your budget, as I call it, the
I don't know why
general
your
expense
stuff did
not
not come
separately
through.
budgeted.
It's nice.
But you're looking at this budget here. Oh, you're looking at this.
Expenses not separately budgeted?
It's in the 029.
Yeah.
So the detention, if you look at, sorry, my eyes, 001-029-62300,
Yeah.
juvenile detention. We have budgeted $10,000 for the last few years. And I met again with the treasurer, and that's an average, what I've asked for is what we're averaging every year for the past 5 years. Some years, this year, as you can see, I am $29,000 over.
Oh,
I have no control over that, but I do have to pay the bill. So that is for juveniles that are detained, and it's for their medical expenses and their transports. If you remember, I asked you to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Kane County to guarantee that these juveniles have placement. So right now I'm spending, the county, I'm making sure it's paid is all I'm doing. $10,800 a month for two juveniles who are detained.
Do you have an estimate on how long they're going to be there? Because you'll run through that in 2 months.
Well, they've been in since June, and I'm $29,000 over. Without speaking to the cases specifically, if the judge looks at me, can you move your head back to the other side? I need to see if I get shut down. No, I want to see her. I can tell you that I know how the cases are progressing. I can tell you that the chief judge and the circuit judge know how the cases are progressing. There's no timeline on them. I can tell you, I believe that one is an adult case, and we're waiting for an 18th birthday, and so that will switch. They will be transported to the county jail, and the other has a sentencing coming up. So we'll know the answer to that in November.
Yeah, I guess
Well, you don't know.
I probably should have clarified, is this going to be enough, is what I'm, it's 25,000
Right.
enough?
That's been the average.
Okay.
In my time, I've not had 2 juveniles detained for this long, for this amount of time. These are extremely serious cases, and you don't know when that's going to happen. My on-call phone may go off 4 more times tonight. There's no way to guess. You just don't know.
And so again, I know what your average is, and I know what your note says here. I just want to make sure we're allocating you enough.
I expect these 2 cases to be done, but last year,
when you're $29,000 over budget, how are we paying, how are we even paying that?
I'm just paying it.
Because it's in 029.
Yeah.
It's in a fund that you can go over the line item as long as we don't go over the dollar line. So that line item in 029 fund is over. But I can tell you that I have a line item in there, I'm way under. So it offsets at the end of the day.
I see. I see.
Yeah, I would, that was the best number that we could come up with, would be the 25,000, but at least, because that was a 6-year average. I mean, last year we had 1 detention. This year we've had 2 in detention since June.
Okay.
We don't know, and it's up to the courts to move the case.
I mean, I understand that they're over budget now, but I mean, the 6-year average has been.
Yeah, as long as we all know tonight.
Right.
As long as you keep underspending, we're okay.
And the other was the transfer fee, and I don't know why I budget for that one, other than I do the collection for Interstate Compact. That is when somebody transfers their probation out of state, we add on a $125 fee, and we give that to the clerk. And then I think the sheriff can expend those funds to maybe go pick those individuals up. I don't know how much is in that account. That's one account. I apologize, I don't know that number.
I don't think we've
We haven't
drawn
done
from
very
that.
many.
Huh?
I don't think we've drawn from it.
No. I don't think you would have enough for some of the trips. I mean, it's not going to get you very far.
I just don't remember seeing that much of it.
Let alone we had to go to Utah.
Yeah. Might get you the payment.
I know you said at one point in finance, your drug testing cost went up significantly. Is this going to be,
It's actually down right
is it
now.
now?
We don't have the Siemens machine anymore, so we send everything off to lab that needs confirmed. So it's basically, we're doing instant cups, which are statutory, well, there's just, yeah. It's cheaper. when you
Just
do
put
it.
it that way.
Yep.
Okay. So you're good on that? You're good with the,
I'm good with everything, because if you look at my year-to-date right now, I'm way under budget. I still have in the 011, $39,000 now. So
okay.
I'm only over on the ARPA payroll that I didn't budget for anyway, so I'm doing well. Electronic monitoring, we have a lot left in that. That's again, I still budget because I don't know, depending on what judge is sitting here, how frequently they're going to use GPS monitoring. It depends on the judge is sitting and what the state is wanting, because it's an alternative to the jail. So we've started using it again the past month, so it will go down.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anything you want to add? All in, all good?
I will say I'm a deputy clerk. She's not union, so that's why I went with that number. I don't have any union employees in my department. So I want to make sure all the information is out there if it's asked.
Thank you. Appreciate that, explained actually a lot. I did go ahead and move that number over there, and that brings us up to 6.782964, so. Okay. Moving on, general judiciary and court.
Excuse me, Sonny, excuse me.
I'm sorry?
Excuse me. I didn't tell you that there probably needs to be a revenue on my side because the state pays half of my salary. I don't think there ever has been, but listening here tonight, I think there probably should be.
There is, it's 43,050,
Okay,
32,500 estimated revenue.
okay,
And it says supervisor of assessment salary.
okay. I didn't see that, thank you.
Well, it blends in with all the other estimates.
Okay, okay, yeah, thank you, yes.
Wow.
Well,
Thank you.
same thing.
That's why I use a
around-
search function.
I tried that, failed miserably because there's too many things that are similar.
Well, right now, it's gonna, you guys sent my salary. It's gonna be 65,889.
Half of this.
65,881.
So that's supervisor of assessment fees?
No,
No?
salary.
Help me out. Where are we at? What line?
First page,
Yeah,
43,050.
43,050. Oh, state
Debbie,
of
what'd you
Illinois.
say your salary was?
32,500. I see that.
65,889, I believe.
So it's 3299,
32,944?
Yeah.
So 32,945
945, yeah.
on that one?
32,945.
That's what that is, my raise. December.
Okay. General Judiciary and Court, is that you?
That's me.
I see 3 pages here,
It's really small.
is that right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I thought Ms. Wade was 1 and it turned out to be 17.
I don't know how it printed off. I have it electronically.
So I'm looking at this and this. This says 017 assist court.
Yeah, that looks right.
Okay.
Well, the rest of Heather's came right out on the heels of me printing out the county board, so. It's not you.
I've been asked you too much around this week.
I found the ball.
My 25 request is no different from last year. And I
Yeah.
think I'm only spent 30, or maybe 30% of my entire budget.
How much?
I think I spent like 38% of my budget this year, 12.9.
Can I ask a quick question before we move on? So on the FY space 25 space budget summary, which is the PDF, the
Yeah.
spreadsheet we received this morning.
We're calling that the single sheet budget.
Okay, single sheet budget, thank you. I better be careful because there might be a wrong one out there if I try to say that too fast. But there's a couple of these budgeted items, dollar amounts that you had that aren't in here. Are you writing down what needs to go in, like?
I've written down so far what we've discussed.
Like I see probation drug testing, which is line item 039, there's no dollar amount in the FY '25 budget.
So
Or am I missing
that's
it?
5,000.
So the
Oh, that's under a special fund,
the
okay.
fund is.
Yep, it's on one of
Okay.
these additional
Either
pages.
one, okay.
Don't get our pages mixed up.
Those all have funds that are, because I wrote the fund is 037, the department on my sheet that I turned in, the
Okay.
expenditures 039.
It's,
But they're all
It's just
special.
some of them are in the special funds column and some are in the general funds column.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
got it. It's just got,
Okay.
if you're looking in the print order,
Yeah,
it
okay.
falls directly after,
That's
County
just a
board.
special fund in there. I was just trying to figure out what we're,
Do you want these?
I got it.
These are mine.
No.
Okay.
Thank you,
So-
Bill. I appreciate it.
Was that it?
Yes, thank you, sorry.
Okay, back to the judge. She spent 30.
No, it's 51.91,
You
sorry.
spent 50.
51.9% of my budget this year. So out of $12,900, I've only spent $6,200
And your budget is essentially a duplicate of
last year.
25.
Yep.
You sent us an email today discussing, I briefly looked at it. Is there anything that needs elaborated on that? Does anybody have any questions on the judges?
you need to refresh my memory.
Yeah, I saw it. It
Is
says,
that the email to Jessica and Erica explaining the $400 and then the public defender 86,000? And, yeah, I think if they may have forwarded that to you.
yeah, yes, here it is. Public
Yeah.
Defender Fund from State of Illinois revenue is 86,065.57. Technology grant, we've already discussed that, 40 grand. You are here tonight, so thank you. PD automation, 063, we covered that.
That was it.
Yeah,
Other than that, I couldn't connect to public Wi-Fi to open Excel, so I couldn't do an Excel spreadsheet. I actually wouldn't connect to the public Wi-Fi. So I'm not asking for anything more. And that was a number Bellwether came up with last year, so I just left it the same. I don't anticipate going over it again next year.
you're gonna have to spend a lot of money in a short amount of time if you attend it.
The state keeps giving me grants, so.
Well, we appreciate that. I know you have to work for those, they're not just handouts. Okay, anything else for Judge Harley?
Well, there's more, do you need to know more about the other ones?
Whatever you want to tell us, we're all ears.
Well, you're on information overload, and I would like to say that I think that the reason why some of the departments had showed up was because we want to help you understand what we do, how we do it, where the money comes from, where we spend it, because we don't have bellwether doing the work for us anymore. It's like we were back in 4 or 5 years ago. So, I mean, we just want you to understand what this is about and what, we just want to educate you, help educate you.
No, it's appreciated.
Very much appreciated. We've answered questions that I didn't even know I had and helped out a lot. If there's anything you have to add, please interject as you all have done, because I don't, none of this has been unproductive, so.
Well, I'm just going to say thank you for calling the meeting. I know I've been a pain lately, and I appreciate it.
You're fine.
Lately. Okay. Okay. I know I prefer my place in the basement, but I am going to say thank you to all of you for doing this. And making this urgent. Today's my husband's 50th birthday, and if you're done with me, I'm going to go see him for a little bit.
I think I'm done with her. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound right, but
No,
I think we're finished
Yeah, no.
with
But
looking at
again,
yours. and
Thank you all.
I'm sure we're gonna have
I think it would be fair to
questions.
say, our doors are open, our phones are open. If you have a question, we're not gonna limit it to, oh no, the county board chairman is the only one that calls us. If you have a question, just reach out, that's why we're here. We'll be more than happy to explain what we can, and tell you how it used to be done before Bellwether came in and did it. I think that's also the reason why we're here, because we don't have time during the business day anymore to carve out a singular meeting with each department head. So if you come across questions, just call and ask us or email us and we'll get you the information. Our days are pretty stacked.
Yeah, and I'm seriously thanking everybody. I know, I mean that. Thank you for getting here, being here. I know you're going to be here for quite a bit longer, but thank you all.
Well, to be fair, I'll just go ahead and say it out loud now. Come next year, we won't be doing this now.
No.
This will be done well in advance of this. We will not be
Then you'll
alone.
only see me for the 3D proclamation and for my weapons renewal.
You're welcome.
Tell them we said happy birthday.
What?
Tell them we said happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you need to know more about the 029 that's on that next line item down?
So you say the next line item down.
Or, I'm sorry, the next fund down on the budgets, right, all the different budgets, do you need to know more?
On
The
your,
appointed counsel fee and the court reporter expense is what she's, and then go down again, you have.
Oh, I see.
Library,
yeah.
things like that.
So I have a question on the, oh, no, back up, sorry. On the FY, no, that's 24, sorry. FY 25 budget summary, the one sheet page. The 029 expenses not separate budget right now is showing 1.4 million and some change under the general fund and 1.725 under the special funds. So when we're looking at your sheet, Judge, and it shows the 029 and the appointed counsel fees and the court reporter fees, are those a part of what's
Yeah.
totaling up to this 141?
Yes, the left column.
The
So-
172.
So do we need to ask, this is a question to the committee, do we need to ask Jessica for a separate report, or maybe we already have it and I just missed it because we've received emails out the yin-yang, but do we need a separate item, report, whatever, that shows us what all goes into that 1481250? Because we can look at your individual reports and go, okay, you've got 60,000 here, and I go, 029, oh, 1.4 million. I mean, how do we know what all is going into that 1.4 million?
No, I think the way she gets to that number is the breakdown. I think it was just easier to give the general idea. So she could absolutely run that report to show the breakdown of each of those columns, right? Each of the left column, and then the restricted fund right column.
Yeah.
She would have the breakdown in the software. I think it's just a matter of printing it. It was just, I don't know if it was gonna be a little overwhelming. At any rate, so let me just tell you, can I tell you about appointed council fee?
Sure.
So last year I came at the very last minute and asked to double. So even though it says 2024 request was $60,000, the Supreme Court upped the hourly rate that we have to pay court-appointed counsel from $75 to $150. So I asked for $120. But then we got the $86,000 public defender money, so I've been using that. So I just thought, I'll just take it back down to 60,000 because I didn't even come close. I think we spent maybe 22,000 of the 120,000 budgeted in that line item. So I thought it's silly since I got another 86,000 coming in this for 25. I'll just take it back down so it's a little more accurate. Not that it matters when you're talking about an 029 total fund of several $million, but every little bit helps.
It does it, but we're also then reflecting the revenue properly as well, so it'll balance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's why if you looked at the actual budget for 24 and you see that line item has 120 and now the judge is asking for 60,000, half of what it was, it's because we have a revenue coming in a different line item to expend. And the court reporter expense is also in that 029. That is currently over budget. That specific line item, but not over budget for the 029.
$750.
Yes. And
Will you make that statement one more time? I didn't catch it.
The year-to-date on that line item titled Court Reporter Expense right now is over budget. But
That's what she said.
it is in the 029, so the whole fund itself is not over budget. And until I looked at this report, I did not know it was over budget. So I will have to do an investigation to find out why, because I don't like it. Makes me, I don't go over budget.
It's only by one line, you're not over your total.
I know, but I'm like OCD about that because fiscal responsibility, and that's a line item I'm supposed to control, and it's over budget.
What are you looking at that you can show that you're over budget?
The BTD document 102424 in this morning's email.
Okay.
What page number? Do you have that, Judge?
No.
It's at the bottom right-hand corner, like something of 27?
I have to get there.
Oh, that's
To find the fund 29.
Scroll down to the, where the generate those.
Page. Okay, what? Because this says page 1 of 81. 34. It would be the 34th page if you're looking at it electronically.
Sunny, I could really appreciate the fact that you're nominating me to this committee.
You're welcome. I wouldn't want you to miss out on
Where did
this.
it go? You know, do you see what I'm saying?
I just found 029.
Okay, so
Thanks.
if
What
you
was
just found 029, then it is in the middle of the page, basically kind of slightly.
What is it called?
Court reporter expense.
Court reporter expense, $1,784.
And I know it's nothing, but
237%
millions.
over budget.
I don't know what it is.
The court report expense? Would it have anything to do with the grand jury when there was more?
I didn't submit a claim.
Not me.
Well, I didn't get it.
Is that would have been this year?
So that's what this sheet is.
We can ask that to be looked into. I would suspect if you drill down, that's probably what it is.
It probably is. Just be Nice to have had heads up in knowing who was submitting a claim when it's a line item I'm supposed to budget.
Well, it's complicated for the finance committee because we have that folder that's 029 and it's just, oh, well, that's just the 029 fee and
There's a lot of stuff in there.
yeah.
So, I'm sorry, how much was it possibly?
How much what?
How much over are you, or your total?
Oh, like over $1,000 over.
$1,034.
Because I only budget that for $750. And that's basically, I think, what I've budgeted in that line item since 2015.
Is it possible, anybody can answer the question, is it possible something was charged against two accounts and paid? Is it possible to reflect like an expenditure was taken out of two separate accounts? And the reason I'm bringing
Breaking
it
it in half in two different accounts, half
Or-
on a year, half
Or
on a-
paid 100% in two separate accounts, if it was noted that way. The reason I ask is if you're reflecting that on yours, and then if I go to the state's attorney's budget, the court expense is 189% of budget, so well over. Is it possible it's reflected there as well? Because there's the budget for the state's attorney court expense was $5,000 and $9,461 was spent. So
I would anticipate that that would be transcripts. That would have been, I mean, if you look at the claim forms, it may very well have been grand jury transcripts or something of that nature. I can tell you, I have not submitted a claim. I think I've only approved one court reporter to submit a claim on that $750.
So then where do the court reporters get paid out of?
Typically everything that a court reporter needs comes from the chief judge's office. They have a very specific budget. And so in my circuit judge budget, we have to make a payment to the chief's office, and that is to fund supplies, any kind of supplies or whatnot for court reporters. It all has to run through there.
So then if you budget $750, what would be the circumstance that you would pay a court reporter?
Like if I ordered a transcript,
Okay.
then I have to pay for that. I don't get them for free, not a certified copy. And I've only actually had to do that one time in a different county, and that county paid, even though it was my request for a certified transcript.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too.
it's not very far in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very far into the state's attorneys.
Oh,
Page
well,
one of, let's see, 1, 2, at the bottom of the page says page 6 of 27, middle of the page, court expense. And I remember stuff coming through in finance, but it's been a minute since that happened, so. But I think we could drill down, right? So if we look at yours and drill down to where that came from, drill down into some of those.
Just produce the claims for that.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that's what I'm saying. But I would want this, these line numbers for the court expense to be brought up on how those were paid against as well. Right, to see if it was in there too.
Yeah. I can just tell you, I would never submit a claim against somebody else's budget.
I'm not saying, no, I'm not saying you did. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, again, if a claim was submitted for the same thing twice in two places.
I've done that
Could have
before.
came out of the wrong.
There's times when we're sitting in finance and you'll get a document that might have 3 different dollar amounts on it, and you get that document 3 different times because it's stapled to 029 and it's stapled to 123 and it's stapled to 456. And we have to sort through various folders.
This is on
It's
the
like,
budget.
wait a minute, there's 3 numbers here, why is it only 1 listed? And then we're literally going through folders.
Yeah.
So with what Tad's saying,
Because I think I've blown.
I could easily see just a
I hope so.
data entry error and something accidentally getting charged to multiple
I mean,
funds.
it'd be very easy to type in the wrong account number.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
100%.
Court expenses.
100%. What'd you say?
I have mine electronically done, so I start to type
That needs to
001
be
and I
checked.
have 3 funds that come up in my Adobe. So I pick that fund and then it auto-populates that number, and then it auto-populates the next thing. So I can't make that mistake. Yeah. Actually, it's two. Two fund lines, two fund numbers. Because with all the zeros, you can mess that up big time. Anyway,
We wrote
that's
it
that
down.
issue. So,
We wrote it down, though, so we'll
Yeah.
have it cross-referenced against what you're asking for, and then in a potential other spot where it could come from.
law library, the revenue, I think Carrie, you submitted that for me. I don't know that number because that's a report that comes from the circuit clerk's office. So that's why I didn't have a revenue number, but Carrie submitted that. And then the expenditures, I kept that up. So that is a contract that has I believe a 3% increase each year of the contract, and it is only a 3-year contract, and I believe I'm gonna be in 2 years. In year 2, and I think that 3% increase goes into effect in February of each year, maybe. So that money is spent on books, legal books. They go into the law library, and then the law library computer that has the Westlaw legal research that's free to the public. Please use it. It's up there free, but we have to provide it. So that's what the law library is. Money is being spent on books and free legal research for the public to use. But again, that's currently under budget. I think it's around $6,000 spent for the year, and I budgeted last year $9,000 or $9,500.
That's in the 045 account.
Yes. Oh, 35. The numbers are tiny.
Yeah, I see that. Publications,
Yeah.
purchase of office machines.
So that's just it.
So if I'm looking at this right, you're budgeting 13,000 for this year?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also increased that, and to be quite honest, if you cut that purchase office machine down from $1,000 back to 500 or whatever, that's fine, because I was not anticipating a tech grant. You see, the tech grant covers new equipment for that, and for the law library, and then we're gonna get new equipment, a new computer for there, for the tech. So I don't really need that either, but whatever.
So are you saying the law library budget could be?
9,000, or 12,000, or 11, what did I write? 12,000?
12,000 and 1,000.
But you could zero out the 1,000 if you wanted to. I don't need it. Since I have tech grant funds this year.
Like changing that.
It's good.
It's pretty minor.
I mean, I can
Yeah.
draw a line through it, but I can't change it anywhere on any of these. The only thing I can adjust is the incomes.
Law library. Could be
Which
a
is
0.
039.
Is that what she said?
Purchase
Purchase
office
office
machine.
Purchase.
018-035-54200.
Purchase of.
On the budget summary, it's item 035. Right, law
Yes.
library can be
Yes.
reduced from 13 to 12.
Yes.
I'm gonna get home and try to type this out and be like, what does this mean? Reduce from 13,000 to 12,000?
Well, no, it would be, it's a $1,000 line item that just needs to be zeroed, which will then just make it 12,000.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Law library.
Excuse me?
Law library.
Okay.
I still support that next one, 017. I
Huh?
just left it as same as last year. I don't think we've spent any of that. I actually think that's a special account funded by court fees.
Okay, so we don't
There's a
even,
historical background, but Let's just say I'm not using it anytime soon until the sheriff tells me he runs out of money.
We can't touch that anyway, it's
Yeah,
it's a
special,
special fund.
special. Court security is, actually, Bellwether couldn't understand this. I don't actually budget court security 010. That is actually the sheriff's job, but it's the fund that pays jury trial bailiffs. So like Frosty and Joanne or Frosty and Janet, that was the fund. It's just that he and I work together because I have a better understanding of what's going to trial or could go to trial for the next year. And so then he usually, which ultimately I just budget it. But it's his fund, not mine.
Do you know what fund number that is?
010, there's
Yeah.
010.
About 031.
For security. You
Oh,
spent
31,
none of that
31
money so
on
far.
the one sheet document.
Yeah.
You spent zero of those funds in '24, Judge.
Yeah, I think ultimately the sheriff might put the bailiffs out of his budget.
And it's budgeted at 6,500 for 2025.
You know, 500
5,000.
or 5,000.
It's her very last line item.
Court security?
Yeah.
That's 6,500.
Okay, so is this on the one sheet item? The one sheet?
I'd have to look.
Or is it not there because it's a special, because it's a designated fund? And not a general fund?
Right.
So it's not on the one sheet?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see, it's.
Yep.
It's in there, no, it's on there. It's under
The
court
sheriff
security
has
031.
That's a different sort of court security, I think.
Oh, okay.
The sheriff's court security is different than,
Yes.
Okay.
Then,
Right?
then jury trial.
okay. But it's an 031.
Martha asked about that earlier.
It's a
There's 3
031.
funds that are very similar, similarly named. So there's court security, courthouse security, and then there's assist court. And all 3 of them are very difficult to keep track of. Sometimes I lose track.
So why not you name them?
Like,
Right.
I'm
You
staying in my
just- it
lane.
was just a question.
Took that up with somebody else. I don't mean stuff.
Okay.
Court security, typically you would think of the security officer or deputy in the courtroom. Courthouse security is supposed to be the ones at the front door. And then assist court is bailiffs. That help support, people that help the court. So it's supposed to be.
That makes more sense than anything else I've heard tonight.
So front
It's taking me 2
door,
hours to find a way to
bailiff,
say that.
courtroom?
Huh?
Yeah, front door courtroom bailiff?
I mean,
Just
it would be a
asking.
heck of a lot. But let me tell you that the fees, when Carrie takes the money in from the offenders and then she has to run a report and cuts the check, it is actually called judicial security. It has a completely different name than the 3 names you see here.
Oh, heaven help us.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I got 0.
All right. Anything else for the judge?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you being here, taking the time. I know it's a lot of time.
We could knock Scott off real quick probably and then.
I was gonna
The
make
sheriff's-
him wait till last. Now, the sheriff's gotta be here at the end anyway. So, we're gonna look at EMA zoning budget. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-page document, looks like. Go ahead, Scott.
So, one of the issues that we're having this year is I'm being paid out of the zoning administrator budget, which last year was $19,000, and I'm over budget at this point. So,
Can
what
we
I...
stop paying you?
Yeah, when we're out of money, you're allowed to.
Yeah, okay.
What I would recommend, and what I've tried to do here with my proposed budget, is shift some funds into the EMA director's account from the zoning administrator. So basically, took $4,000 out of the zoning administrator's budget and pump that into the EMA director's budget. That way, next year, Erica pays me out of that EMA director's budget, which I would prefer, because that's really the reason I got into this job. That way, there should be no orderages there.
That's the 27,500
Yeah,
and the 15,000.
right.
Okay.
I see 27.5.
And then, so he decreased zoning to 15,000.
Oh, yeah, okay, right, okay.
On this is what. Yes,
Well, I was looking at these sheets on there.
So the 42,800,
Say that again.
the 42,800
Yeah, that would be the overall EMA
overall
budget.
budget.
I'm just talking about the expense for
Okay.
for what I get paid out of. And then that's with a verbal agreement that I work 999 hours or less per year, which so far I'm on track to stay under that threshold.
So I have a quick question, Scott, I'm sorry,
Go for
but
it.
the zoning administrator, I see where the 15,000 is on the sheet, but what's entered in the one sheet list is 18,800. What am I missing? And I'm sorry. it's
I
late
can't
last-
tell you.
late last
I don't
night.
know why it's 18.8.
Can you see what I'm looking at though?
Yes, I'm.
And then it says decrease to 15,000 as mentioned, new budget line mileage for 1,000, but then it shows a total of 18,800.
What's the line on the one-page summary, Martha?
It is 20.
If you look at this, zoning administration, you pull 4,000 out of the top line, you add 1,000 to the bottom line, you get 18,800.
I see office supplies and, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hadn't gone to that page yet.
Gotcha.
Good to go, thank you.
Do you know what EMA zoning budget was last year without me looking it up? Anybody know that?
I have zoning administration, is that everything included in that?
Yes.
So 21.8
21.8 was that, and then EMA was 35,035. So there should be, if you add those both up, and then check the difference I have it written down, it's,
$1,800 more.
yeah.
I got you, 63,085 would have been the total in 2024 versus the ask of 64,900. Yes?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah, on this page, second.
Right
page.
here, you got 63,085, that's 24, 64,900 is for 25, so a difference of an additional $1,813, okay. That's on the second page, you
That
guys see
also,
that?
but that final also includes the difference of
Yes.
not having a planning commission anymore as well.
Oh, because we're gonna,
There is no
yeah,
planning
we
commission, so.
did away with that, so that money that we budgeted for that is gone.
Right.
Okay. That's what the back page indicates. No budget required.
Scott, I appreciate the words rather than the numbers.
Last year, all we did for my offices is I sat down with Bobby downstairs and they kind of went over, I was like, sure, yeah, I've never done this before, so.
Okay.
So I didn't know if Excel or just writing down the words.
I
so
like
just did
words.
Both worked well, thank you. Any questions for Scott while he's in the hot seat?
I did create 2 line items. IPW man, which
Yep.
it was $250 a year. So I'll be able to pay for that right out.
IPW man is the mutual aid agreement for disasters, public works.
Public works.
Yeah,
That's the
for
thing.
disasters.
We
Yeah.
get 5 days free mutual aid from any
Yeah.
entity that's a part of that.
Okay, we entered into that summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've restructured, we gotta sign a new, but that's no big deal.
And then the other new line is the iPod software. So that would potentially be Text My Gov.
Bye, ladies, thank you for coming.
Thank you. I
I added that because at some point I will be carrying that burden.
What is that iPost software?
So that's that Text My Gov.
Text My Gov,
It was
okay.
previously Mixel,
Yeah,
but there was never a line item for that for some reason, and that was very expensive, so.
we voted to do Text My Gov, yes? No? We're working
We're
on it.
working on it,
The
but
first certain amount is gonna be, we're discussing ARPA funds, so you're just looking at the future, you're gonna need a line item. I understand.
I mean, if you wanna drop it to zero, you can, but because again, I'm asking for ARPA funds for that, but I just wanna make sure we address that. So if you do wanna drop it to zero for the next, 2, 3, 5, 4 years, because I think the current agreement with Text My Gov will pay for it with ARPA funds for the next 4 years, if that's okay. So we could potentially drop it to zero, but I didn't want to drop it to zero on my form without having a discussion about it, because technically we don't have ARPA funds for that.
And if and when we pass this budget and you have this new line in here like this, you've made the request, we've adopted the budget, then those lines magically appear into the future.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Anything else?
No.
You're right, we can knock him out pretty quick. Okay, all done, let's go home.
Always the biggest stack, Sheriff.
Yeah, why do you
You've got it all hammered out for us, right, Brian?
So, where did that, oh, there it is.
We'll just fly right through here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Scott, appreciate you hanging out. And I will say, I've reached out to some department heads over this, and I haven't received any negative pushback, just help. So if anybody has a question that shows up later in your head, just don't hesitate to reach out to them and ask. Sheriff, you're up, buddy.
Okay, you've got a copy of my requested budget. Of course, the majority of mine is salary, with, I have nearly 40 employees I pay.
40?
Yeah, it's just under 40, 39, so.
Okay. I think that's a question I've had different times, so good to know.
And but the other increases are ones we've already talked about tonight, which is access to some of these special monies, the Canvas Fund, which was 20,000, the MAR grant, which is 110, and the opioid settlement funds too, which was 31. Yeah, 31,245.
Can I take you to your second page real quick, just so I can ask this and move on? I see all these line items have premium pay. Does that end then in November? Because I see they're gone, but then it's not called premium pay, but it's actually still there.
Right, it got basically incorporated into their salary, it's no longer ARPA premium pay.
Okay, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
But then there's an increase because 54.9 plus 2 does not equal 68, so you're anticipating,
Yes,
okay.
especially like that particular employee had a lot of pay compression compared to the union employees that.
Well, I certainly wasn't picking on a particular employee, I was looking at a line item, I don't even know, please don't even tell me who that is, so that I don't know.
So, but I have a question, that employee, I mean,
So that's a
going
14.
from, that's a 19% pay increase, and did that employee not get a $6,000 increase this year?
I'd have to go back and look and see where we're at on her.
And that's a 19% increase. I know if somebody told me I was gonna get a 19% increase, I'd raise
Well-
my hand and say, thank you very much.
Of course, the employees under her got nearly that much, since 21.
These are all contracted positions, FOP contracted positions, no?
Not all of them, no.
Okay. Which ones are not?
The undersheriff and the jail administrator.
Okay.
Does the state pay any of your salary?
Yes, 66%.
Of the top line sheriff,
Correct.
is that included in our,
It is.
great, I'll trust you.
It's 43,030.
And it's 60% of 134.
Why didn't do that, man?
So I'm gonna piggyback over to the next page for a second, because the vehicle operation expense is going from 135 to 156. What's driving that?
Inflation and, just estimating cost on that, but yeah, I don't expect we'll spend that much. But-
I don't know, you bought tires lately?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So-
They've gone up
Yeah, so back
15,
to,
20%.
the jail admin position, a hefty increase this year. You're looking at a 19% increase this year. And isn't that person also provided a county vehicle to drive to and from?
That is correct.
Why does that person have a vehicle?
What's
Is
that?
is that just part of the job?
Yes, and she responds to the jail. And does transports, and sometimes transports to a county jail and then home from there.
Page 3, you got purchase vehicles. That's slightly up from 2024. Is there,
Well, it's actually the same as 2024, but I got zeroed out last year and got that amount in ARPA.
oh, so that's why it looks so glaring this year?
Yep.
Yeah, if you go back to last year, it was 0.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, it's 0.
I had budgeted 100 and
I was
go to
thinking it
take
was
that down to
something.
0, but then they replaced it with 100.
Income for his line item should be.
Oh, that's what's on there?
So Sheriff, on page 1 with the proposed expenditures, for the deputies,
This is
that $900,000, is that what's been negotiated with the new?
Well, we're behind the power curve on that because we have not negotiated anything.
Why are we not negotiating? Well, that's a different
Yeah,
conversation,
exactly.
sorry.
Hopefully, we'll be getting started and we'll have an idea of where we're gonna be at.
Okay.
And that will be probably retroactive back to September 1st, because that's when the contract.
So this is just a best guess
Right, that is
number?
correct.
Okay. Okay. Now, correctional officers, are they in the same union or are they
They are in
different?
the same union, they are a different unit.
Okay,
Yes.
but they're not, are their contracts being negotiated right now too?
Yes, well, it needs to be, yes.
Wait for the subject.
Okay. So like, that's another one that's a figure,
That's an
estimated figure?
estimate, yes,
Okay.
correct.
What's the average pay of a deputy? Is that hard to say, because they start out at, what, 23 or 4?
It's higher than that for a deputy, they probably start at 26. and-
Okay, so it's gone up for a little
Yeah,
bit.
they're probably, the average is 30 or more for,
Okay.
not if you're talking an hour.
So under the deputies, that 77,580, 100, plus the 151 and some change totals $909,940, which is over what you're estimating at the 900.
And I didn't spend it all for this year, and don't anticipate I will, and I've been understaffed some.
So the 2023 to 2024 column is just the budget from that year, not?
Correct.
Not, okay,
Right.
okay, thank you.
You didn't spend 758.1 or 151.8, so you're trying to figure out somewhere that's around 9.
Correct.
I've jumped way ahead. DUI equipment fund, it doesn't appear we had anything. You said that's from Fort Pines,
Yes.
34, 478, so Is that some special money that we're sitting on? Okay. So these are special funds?
Yes.
I have another question on so the correctional officers, when we have the premium pay and the other one, it's 524 and some change, and that's going to 577. Have we seen a reduction in the average number of folks in the jail with the law that changed 1/1 of last year? I can't think of the name of it. I say
Until recently, I would have said no, but recently, our numbers now are way down, yes.
So if that trend continues, would the pay for correctional officers not decrease?
The pay is not tied to the
Okay.
number we have in the jail, so, yeah.
So, as far as the holiday and overtime, that looks like a fairly significant jump from 407 and some change to 514.
Talked about that in finance.
Yeah, 407, 690 to 514.
You said 407 to,
Yeah, if I had the 350,000 plus the premium pay at 57,690.
again, and we're probably just estimating, not knowing what the contract's gonna be.
It just seems odd that the pay, budgeted pay for deputies would go down, but
Right,
holiday and overtime would go up.
I don't disagree with that.
Maybe, right, but if you continue to be short-staffed, that likely wouldn't be true, right? Because now you're attacking the same people to work additional time, right, which would be then budgeted under that line item. If you continue to remain short-staffed on deputies,
Correct.
it would come from that item.
You're gonna pay more overtime pay than you pay regular pay if you're short staffed. Absolutely. I jumped way ahead again. Medical care for prisoners, you're budgeting $1,500,
That is a,
surely different than the other line.
it is, that is basically money that comes from the court.
Oh, okay.
That, again, is.
That's not the total. Where's that total at?
The total of healthcare?
Yeah,
That you paid out.
medical care for prisoners, 69,000?
Yes.
Okay, okay. That other thing is just, that other $1,500 is something you get from somewhere else, so you have to budget it separately? I got you.
Yeah, special funds again.
Does the 69,000 include the transfers with the ambulance?
No, that's not included. I mean, we would pay it out of that line, yes.
Well, looking at year-to-date, I'm still surprised you stayed under,
Oh,
based on where we started earlier this year and some of those claims that came in.
where's that at?
I mean, it's under,
No, I mean, I'm just asking what
as a
it was.
percentage of 79%.
I mean,
Oh.
some lines overall I am, some lines I'm under, some lines I'm over.
Well, like I say specifically that one though, when we had the discussion of finance several months ago.
Right, there were a couple of hefty bills that came through.
No, I mean, overall, you're in line, right, at 82% for the year, for sure.
On
I'm
that
sorry,
69 number.
I
85%.
mean, if you look at,
It's total
that's one
budget,
reason we increased building maintenance and repairs, because we're at 153% on that.
Yeah.
And we have other items that need attention over there.
So what was the budget? Oh, it was 2.3 plus premium pay, which didn't really come out of his budget. But of the 2.3, he's at 86%, is that what you're saying?
Well, his budget for '24 was 2.9. He's at 2.5, so he's 85% for the year.
Oh, and he's, okay, and he's looking for 3.6 now. Is that, am I comparing the correct numbers, Sheriff?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. So it was 2.9, so it's roughly $1 million increase.
700,000.
Oh, it's 3.6, sorry.
3.6.
I'm getting cross-eyed with the numbers, thank you.
Yeah, they already had the line item. That is included in that 3.6, is that 110,000 mark.
But he's also got
Yes,
more
it's
revenue.
not on the line item over here.
He's got more revenue than he's had in the past.
Yeah.
Right, he's got other things we can offset.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, that
Yeah.
I need to spend the line item for the
Correct.
mark. Right.
Correct.
Well, that MAR in there is $110, right?
Yes.
That's what I saw, 110,000.
Yeah, I have that in the notes to add a line item for that.
So he's asked for that in his budget, it looks like, because I was flipping through here. Yeah, Illinois MAR grant.
Cannabis fund, I need up there, I need a line item for it.
But I have a question, and sorry, I know we did this already, but the MAR, if that is a grant and it is restricted, so it can only be spent on certain things, is that a part of what we budget? I thought we were just budgeting the general fund.
Well, no, I think all.
And maybe I've just been talking.
The special funds are
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, they're.
So we-
So the special is designated, okay, sorry.
Okay, so the cannabis
Which would reduce
fund
his footprint.
is
in the
20,000.
budget, if we were able to get the
And you
income.
need a line item for that in the revenue. Yes.
And expenditure.
And expenditure. Okay. So.
Usually when you type this up, maybe we can do it as an addendum to the notes I'm typing. Between the two of us, maybe we'll hit a third of what was said.
It probably won't get done tonight. I'll just say that.
Anybody have any questions for the sheriff?
No, thank you again, Sheriff, appreciate it.
You have anything you want to add, Sheriff?
No, like I said, mostly, access to, some of these other funds that I've been sitting on.
Okay.
911 expenses are flat, is that,
Oh,
That's probably contract fee.
go ahead, I'll let you.
where the question came up, we still have the DECO grant, and that's sitting there, and we're not sure if that's actually in a line or we haven't drawn on it, but we've been awarded that grant.
Do you need lines for that?
It's not mine. This was the grant that we got for the windows, but then but we said we can't use it for these windows, so now we have to use it for something else.
It has to be something with courthouse maintenance, doesn't
I
it?
thought we were using that for the stucco or whatever,
Possibly.
But it's not budgeted.
Yeah, right, it's not budgeted,
So we need a line.
but it's awarded, so,
You did get notification that you got the extension on that one then?
yes.
Okay.
Well,
How long is your
And
extension?
we might have to ask for it again.
Ask for longer to be able to spend the money.
No, how long? How long?
A year, we got a year extension, but. we
So
might
you can
have
run
to
through
ask for-
25?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you need a line added for that?
Wouldn't it just be in building maintenance?
It could be put in building maintenance or it could be put in our courthouse maintenance.
But
do
he
we
needs
have
the
to,
authorization for it to be brought out.
do we have to count for it as revenue?
Yeah, I would say you have revenue and expense. It becomes a wash.
Okay,
I
Sheriff?
would say that the courthouse maintenance and repairs needs to be moved from 90 to 210 to cover the 120, is my math right?
It's a 250.
It's a $250,000.
250,000, okay.
But don't grants have to be specifically spent, so they have to have their own, you can't, can you combine them with other,
Sure, as long as you use it for the same project.
okay.
Or
So
the right item, yeah.
So, I mean, just think about it, my information, my technology
Okay,
grant
so we're
is
adding,
in 029.
okay,
So,
so we're adding this, what is it,
DECO.
DECO grant
Amount
Then this is to the revenue sheet, correct?
amount,
of 250,000.
250K, to the buildings and maintenance fund?
Yeah.
But doesn't that have
Well-
to be historical type? It
Not
does
this-
it not have to be now?
No, we can put
Hang
in
on.
a change of.
Hold on one second. I want to make sure we get this note right.
Okay,
$250,000 needs to be added as an income for the DECO grant.
uh-huh,
But then the courthouse maintenance and repairs needs to be moved from 90,000 to whatever that maths out. 250 plus 90
340.
is,
That's
340.
thank you.
bottom line, but you need a separate line for the expenditure out of the 250. See
yeah,
what I'm saying?
that's, I get that,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
Say that one more time.
Still have to have a separate line item for the expenditure out of the DECO grant.
So we
So
don't
then-
need, so we don't need to amend the courthouse maintenance dollar amount, we need to add.
Add it, yes.
On expenditures, not,
Is it DECO or DCO?
All capitals, DECO.
It's been both, so they wash,
yeah.
Right,
I
I get
just-
it.
but you need both.
I
So
thought we
he's,
were,
he'll need to add it to his expenditure list.
So what I said is wrong. We can't just add it to the courthouse. We have to add a DECO line.
Yes.
okay, which
So
is
what
what
I-
I said initially.
Yeah. Okay, but I thought we could
Well,
do
let
it
me
like
just
that.
cross that out, okay.
So he needs a DECO line item.
Got it,
That would be 250,000, and then we would need to add an income
Up to 200,000.
of 250,000.
got it.
So it's zero, okay. Now that I got that messed
You
up.
got any other pockets? No more pockets?
Got the cannabis one done, so we're good there.
Okay,
I guess if we're on this topic, then, since I don't know the answer to this, so, you know, we're talking about money that's set aside. If we're looking ahead, just like last year, his income, or his vehicles were zeroed out for the sake of using ARPA for those vehicles. But do we need to, since we're in this last stretch for ARPA to even be allocated, do we have to budget for that, or do we just have the ability to, whether it's November or December, allocate at that point without it being in the budget?
You're talking about ARPA funds?
Yep.
I don't believe ARPA funds have to be budgeted.
And I'm asking it for the good of the fact that we're, you know,
Let me
2
think
months.
why I'm thinking that. What was that?
I thought the ARPA budget had I thought the ARPA fund had its own budget.
Correct.
So we don't have to, right, to pass this, right, to get this through, we don't necessarily need to allocate, because you got zero for vehicles, but magically you got vehicles. Right, because it was done after the fact.
Right, or it was actually done instantaneously, they said, what we need to do is zero that out but we're gonna give you 100,000 of ARPA for vehicles.
Right, I mean, and again, a lot of
Set
department,
the budget.
yeah, the department hasn't gotten back to us at this point, right, kind of like a wish list, right, of like, hey, here's our projects, this is the best way we could do it, and then we just, essentially, we're gonna have to rack and stack what those priorities should look like. As long as we do that by the end of the year, my understanding is we're okay, but if I'm hearing correctly, we don't actually need to budget for that, right? That we get into next year, they're allocated, and let's just say that we gave the judge, you know, additional money for courthouse repairs, right? We've talked about, you know, potential bathroom improvements and stuff like that. As long as we allocate it by the end of this year for $350,000 of courthouse repairs, as long as you do it by the end of '26, we've allocated it, you just make the decision when to do
Does
it.
that have to be allocated by the end of this year or
Yes.
contracted by the?
I asked,
Allocated.
It doesn't have to be
Okay.
spent, but it has to
No,
be
not spent, but I thought you
allocated.
said it doesn't have to be under contract.
I know so,
It just has to be allocated properly and then
can I
spent.
interrupt that whole train of thought?
You can.
I just asked about this specific thing between allocation versus under contract and when it has to be spent. It has to be under contract by December 31st, which means that those are officially allocated funds because a contract is in place.
They do have
That's
to
what
be
I
And
contracted.
then the spending part can happen by 26. So that complicates things, right? Because like I'm not gonna hide the fact that I have a huge wish list and it all has to be bid.
Yep.
The county board's gonna have to put it all out for bid, which is why the way I was trying to do these was give us an idea of what this is gonna cost, what's gonna go into it, so the county board can put together a bid package faster than spinning its wheels. So we have asked somebody else to do a quarter of our work for us, or maybe even half of our work, so that when the county, I can present it to whoever, public safety or county board, whatever it is, they can go ahead and say, okay, we're gonna agree with these things, let's get the bids out, and then have the bids returned to the next county board meeting, and award the bids, right, in December.
Wow, that's really moving fast.
Which is
You're breaking my
why
heart right now.
we'd ask for some favors to help.
Unacceptable.
Huh?
I said this is unacceptable, right?
I
That we've sat on
understand.
this whole time, and we have money that could be used
Yeah.
to improve not only facilities, right, but in equipment. And here we are at the last hour, that this actually has to be done. And if what you're saying is true, and I don't doubt you at all,
That's what I was told.
we are at a very, very tight threshold
It
to
is.
make that happen with bid requirements and everything else.
So the great thing about it is that we have wonderful people that are willing all to put forth the effort. I mean, I come up with ideas, I put it in writing, I provide it to the sheriff, he sends it off to the company,
Centrica.
I can't remember the name. They've agreed to go ahead and just give us a general idea, the window project people, to give us an idea of what to even do. So I'm trying to do a lot of the work before, or not a lot, some of the work, so that when I come to you guys and say, here's all the different things, here's an idea of how much all of this is gonna cost in snippets, right, each project by project. And so then you can pick and choose what projects, or pick none of them. But if you pick a project, then at least you know how to put the bid specs together, right? Like, you could do that. Bid specs would be super easy to do. Throw it on the website, put it out to wherever all it goes, and get a return date as quickly as possible.
In
So
70 days.
it's a lot more work for other people, but we're willing to do it if it makes the time frame shorter, since we have a shorter time frame. All that we're gonna ask is when we come to you all, that we can work together on that, because we're trying to help you do it faster.
Sure, I have other departments too that are also in a very similar situation that have provided some of the things that they would like to see happen. Under
But
the
do you have the
notion,
cost of it? Do you have an idea even?
we have an idea of the cost, but what we didn't do is put it out for bid because we just, we were under the assumption, which is now turns out possibly a false assumption, that as long as we had a ballpark range, right, then we go to the bid process come 25,
I
26.
think words are super important, like the way we use them. You know, I can only tell you that in court, you will use a word that has a completely different meaning than what you would use if you said the word outside the courthouse. We have way different definitions. So I think it's super important when we use the word allocate to actually say, what does that mean? I'm used to that just because, I use words in the courtroom that mean something completely different than I would use in front of the county board.
Sure.
We've talked about it in county board. The term under contract has been said in meetings many, many times.
But so has the word allocate, so
I know,
that
I
draws
understand.
confusion. So I think if the funds are allocated once they're under contract.
If they're allocated, they're committed, and if they're committed, that means you contractually agreed to give them to somebody.
Yeah, but it's too many words. So the easier way to say it is just stop using the word allocate, start using the word under contract,
Amen.
and work towards that goal. So which is why I tried to do this as fast as possible, the way I've
No,
done
I
it,
appreciate
to bring
you.
the information to you.
Now,
Yeah.
do any of those things, are they under, isn't the threshold $30,000?
And I have the projects that are being proposed.
So if you
are
have
under
some things that are under that,
$30,000.
you could contract it and be good to go.
Yeah.
Only if the contractors are different.
Well, yeah, you can't take the same contractor.
Oh,
and
right,
separate-
no. But I mean, like, if somebody in one department had something that they were needing, that the total was gonna be under $30,000, we could contract that money to them? Or tell that, get it through
Oh,
our,
it'd be
that
easy.
way?
They
We
just
wouldn't
get
need a
quote,
contract.
And then they would
Yeah.
sign it directly, so it's under 30.
Can I ask you who you talked to?
Treasurer,
Oh, okay.
I needed to know how much work I needed to do.
I understand,
I had
I
to
just,
ask her,
right, no, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
because I was under the assumption, same as
Right.
you guys, that allocation meant it was just, we earmarked it, here's what we want to use this amount of money for this project, but not it be under contract.
Which is what you and I spoke about Friday.
Right.
Which is like if we were just to say, you're like, hey, listen, I need courthouse repairs, we're like, here's $350,000 that's been set aside for that, whether you use it 25 or 26. That's where I was possibly falsely under the impression that that was good enough.
But that was, I was under the impression of, until I thought, you know what, I better ask and clarify for sure. And then when I was clarified, and I was like, oh no.
And I'll go back and read it again myself, just to make sure I fully understand. I've read it a couple times, but it's been a minute, so.
I mean, it's been a while since I read it, but it's a lot.
Thank you
There
for
are a lot of big-
acknowledging, but the Judge Harlow there, she put it in better perspective, but I was gonna say, I don't think allocate was
Oh,
right
okay.
on that ARPA fund.
We've talked about it many times in board meetings.
I know, but it's just the language. It's very,
I thought that was.
But that escapes the point that we shouldn't be in this position.
no, we shouldn't be in this position today, but there's no point in complaining about it.
Nope.
When you have a group of people that are willing to go out there and do some work to make it easier on all of you as board members, mostly because we want our projects done. And I can give some examples. More ADA parking for the courthouse on the east side, if that's even possible. ADA accessible bathrooms on the second and third floor, because the first floor is the only one that has ADA accessible bathrooms for the general public, Here's another one. I want this gone. We don't use this as a jury box. I want all new seating here to allow for more public seating in this room, especially if you're going to continue to use it for court, for committee meetings. But when we have daily court, because there's a jury trial, there's no place in here for people to sit, because we don't let general public sit in these chairs. The witness stand here and upstairs, they're not ADA accessible.
Either's your jury box.
No, my jury box is, there's rent.
Over there?
Yes,
Okay.
the jury box upstairs is out, yes, yeah. And I want new lighting, the entire new lighting for the courtroom to make that room brighter, so people can see. Like I said, it's stuff I want, but it's stuff that benefits the general public, not just the court, but also the county board and committee and all of that. I mean,
You
there's
need
other
new
stuff in
chairs
there.
too.
Huh?
You need new chairs for the prosecuting, for the attorneys. Those things are,
It's in there.
yeah, all that
Actually,
stuff.
that was in there too. That's in there
That
too.
may not be really
We don't
important,
really
but
look
setting those
for
there awful.
We need to not worry about budgeting our budget,
100%.
but we gotta get to work on it.
Have you seen me swimming in the courtroom upstairs?
Yeah, I have
Because
information for the
because I'm a
department.
lifer. And I'm like, yeah, see that, but yeah, so we're gonna try to do the best we can.
Go back. This is, we gotta get that done.
It's a thing.
And
We also need to know what's
if
left over from
if
his
you
budget
had,
project.
say, a list of things that you
We got
wanted,
that, didn't we?
all you
What he
need,
has with the finance.
and if it was over 30,000, get 2 bids.
Okay, but the
Bring it
contract
to the
part
board
was under
one
what
time,
was-
and I think it would be taken care of. I don't think you have to bring it to the board and say, this is what we want to do, we're going to get bids. I think you can say, this is the list of stuff that I want, I have 2 bids. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but they have to go put it into the bid cycle. We have to go through the
Or go
proper
through
bid.
bids, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get 2 bids instead of asking the board first if you can do it, and
Well, I mean, I
it
think
might
we
take less time. I don't know.
finished where we started. Animal control's not here.
I can speak to some of her stuff if you want to go through it. She's got some increases in there.
Yeah, pretty significant.
They are, but that's also due to, we're working on coming into compliance with things. And
Right.
there's a lot of significance to that, to include discussions about liability of only having one animal control board in the amount of hours and stuff like that too. So she's done a lot of research, talked to neighboring counties, and then from an insurance liability standpoint, the concern of one. So she's got pretty good clip notes, right? She did a good job making notes on the side of her justifications for this stuff. the lawn has been taken care of by Mr. Hudson for years, gratis, using his own stuff. And if we're gonna come into compliance and not violate his union contract, then we're gonna have to take care of that.
How much of this money is, how much of this 166,565 is offset through revenue?
I couldn't tell you that, to be honest with you. I'd have to go back and look at where her revenue projections are gonna be. I mean, we're also at a point too where the current, or the new deputy administrator has agreed to forego pay, right? So it's simple, in year one, that almost pays for the lawn maintenance, year one.
Where's that at?
The deputy, so she wiped it out.
Oh, it's not even on here.
It's on there, she wiped out
The
the
deputy
cost.
clerks, it's
Oh,
50700.
zero, I see it now.
Of course, it said actual spent for 24, so I'm not sure where that would have been. I'm not sure where they were paying Dr. Spessard out of on this line, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
But I don't think we need to remove it.
Dr. Marlowe's agreed to no pay,
Oh, in perpetuity?
correct.
Okay. So what's the 3,500 for lawn maintenance? What,
So she put out there, she wants an either new mower or a service. I guess somebody that's actually gonna mow the facility.
I got it.
Yep.
And that's a guess for what either one would be.
Yep.
Now, since that is a small area, that that won't have to go out for bid, right? She could just buy
It's also a service.
Yeah, so she can just hire somebody at her, like to get a couple quotes and see who's gonna do a better.
Yep. It's also a professional, I mean, it would likely fall under service, and it's under the threshold, so she would be okay with
Yeah.
that. But
Thank you
it
guys
is-
for coming.
But she is adding a line that didn't exist before.
No, I mean, I think it would be better to just have a service do it, that way you don't have to worry about maintenance of equipment or,
Right.
I mean, that's kind of what we did at the township.
But when you come in, when you start adding staff, then you're gonna have to, increase in
No,
other stuff too.
we asked for this, and so, I mean, like you said, with compliance comes expenses, so.
And she's also, I mean, she's done her due diligence, not only on the expectations here for what the cost would be for, additional staff. She's also then already forward-looking to, what does the transition plan, some point, as Mr. Hudson retires, who comes in, because you can't just slot that job without somebody that doesn't have experience. And so she's trying to build a bench also, in staying compliant, as well as, protection from liability. She's also trying to build a bench for continuity. Like for her first year, she's done a bang-up job here.
I do too. I think she did. Came in with no, basically, guidance. I mean, Brad was there to help her, I don't mean it like that, but as a new position, she really took the
She's
bull by the
also,
horns.
I mean, she also was able to decrease through some of the licensing she's gone through, especially for euthanasia expenses or whatever. She's worked on bringing those expenses down. So she's tried to trim where she could trim. But there are some significant increases there.
Yeah.
But that was in order to stay compliant with his union contract and from a liability standpoint.
So what's the liability standpoint? What are you?
So in conversations with, and she'd be better off to give you the exacts, right? She's talked to neighboring counties as well as from a liability insurance standpoint, that is when you're sending out some of these, the wardens on some of these calls, right? The exposure is significant to their well-being. And so you end up with a workman's comp situation when you send somebody one where you should have sent two.
Oh, so many of these calls need to have two people going to them, not one.
That's correct. She herself went to one and made a decision that she shouldn't be there.
Oh, I got you.
Just due to
but
the situation.
In the future, there needs to be two people there, not just one, which is what we've had for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to Mr. Hudson, he'll tell you repeatedly, there's a bunch of situations, by himself was probably one slip up.
So that cost is reflected in
The
additional
additional
employees,
That's right.
part-time employees.
Right.
Yeah.
I do have a question about the overtime. I know, I mean, $2,000 isn't a lot a year, if we're talking about a year, but if he's not, if the contract states he works X amount of hours, and he's working more than those hours, is that going to is that going to be overtime, or is that going to be him he's there because doesn't want to go home because he might get called out?
So this has to do
The
with.
position, not him personally,
Correct.
the position.
So this has to do with the on-call status, is my understanding,
Okay.
is if we don't put it in there, right? And again, it depends on what his contract says, but if it's not in there, we can't pay for the overtime piece to that, but it is, like, right now, if he gets called out for
So-
something,
Looks to me that we budgeted 2,200 in '24, and as of September of 2024, we've spent no dollars, so that actually got reduced to 2,000.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
see what you're
saying. I don't think he uses the overtime expenditure,
Right.
but is that, when the contracts are renegotiated or whatever, if his hours are this, and he's there, the warden is there doing whatever they're doing, is that overtime, or is that just falling within his?
so he does his best to stay within his contractual hours.
Right.
To make sure that happens, right?
Yeah.
So I will tell you firsthand that I know the man has worked time that he's not been paid for.
That, I mean, I know too, I used to work across the street, and he'd be there till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the contract was till noon, so I'm like, is that gonna be considered overtime, or is that just, he's just doing a service?
I think he is going to start sticking to his contract.
That's what, yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Hence, then the other warden is picking up that time
okay. Then that makes
to
sense.
stay within the bounds of the contract.
Yeah, that's why they have the contracts.
That's right. So if we want to be compliant and stay within the contracts, and we would like him to stay compliant with that, then he's gonna do it. So, yeah, he and I've had the conversation that he's just gonna have to do it,
I agree.
and he's ready to do it.
And then if he gets called out, then that's a different, when he's off the clock, so
But
to
he's
say.
also, again, those hours are there to offset that, right? So,
Kick me into the table
Yeah.
shortly.
right, so those hours there are there to offset the on-call status.
Okay,
So it is an offset. It's always been the offset. It's just, he's not
he wasn't
had,
getting paid for.
no, because he's not had an office holder that's done the other stuff. He hasn't had the additional staff inside the kennels. They had a major illness there not long ago that cost a ton of time and expense that was never compensated for, because they had a massive illness breakout and they had to clean and sterilize the entire facility.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, there's a good chance that even some of their cleaning expenses got over because of that. I mean, it was pretty bad.
Any other questions or discussion about animal control budget?
Honestly, and some of the rest of these, we may just have to go direct to some of the
Yeah,
entities, because I can't speculate with the rest of these folks. I just happen to know hers.
right, I
She's
understand.
very good about communicating, Angela is.
We all received this, it's University of Illinois. Does anybody know anything about that?
Is that the
It's the
co-op
extension.
extension?
I
Aren't we
don't know
just a
what that
pass-through
means.
for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's we're a pass, so it's U of I extension, right? So all the ag-related programs, the outreach programs, that talks about the food services programs are on there, and how many people they serve.
They do some classes for the board as well.
That's right.
That's
So,
an in and out.
yes.
So
We don't
that's
have
not
any
even
control
part of
over
the
the
general fund.
spending on the money.
That's kind of like
No, but she
CFS,
does a good job of just
how
putting in there why, she even puts her inflation adjustment reasoning on
Yeah,
there.
I seen that.
Where does that money come in from then? I mean, I'm looking in I asked because I'm looking at the estimated revenue, the one sheet, and I'm just trying to find, if there's a line item on there for that one that would equal the,
Yeah, I mean, I can inquire. I would say the same thing. I'm not even sure I see like community services on this pass through either. Right? I don't think because it's a big number.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw something about mental health, but I don't know if it was community services.
But just on the one, on this, I don't see an income line for that either. So I can inquire on where that.
Is it on the budget? Is it on single page budget?
I haven't found it yet. I'm wondering if that's a general fund item in the general fund, out of the general fund, or if it's
Cooperative extension is on here under a special line item 022.
02.
Yeah, $80,000. But we don't see that on our income side?
Well, it'd be under special fund.
What was it under,
Oh, so it'd be down here at the bottom.
Martha, did you need to know the line on?
No, he said 022, but
Okay.
because that was on the expenditure side, and I'm on the revenue sheet, so I was just trying to find it on revenue.
I don't know, I got my papers all mixed up, so now I don't know. I'm just gonna have to go back through these and sort them out.
Health department, how much?
Is it a health department? I mean, is that health department?
The,
The U of I extension?
oh,
No, that's got, it's its own entity.
Okay, that's what I thought, sorry.
I'm looking at the health department budget. How much of that is coming out of general fund? How much of that is special funds? Does anybody know?
I think he had on there how much his revenue was and how much his.
Jake? County health? Would that be? Are you okay?
Hey, you know, when we're talking about the DCO grant, if you go to the estimated revenue sheet and scroll down to line 133, there is a state DCEO grant program item on there. It just doesn't have a dollar amount tied to it. It's one of them at the very bottom.
Yeah, I see.
I'm just gonna type all these out that we had concerns
Yeah.
about, and then as people have time to
Figure it out.
go back and
Yeah.
look, it's just that we have a flag on those.
Okay. I was just.
Because it's a lot of information to look at in one night.
Yeah, I'm just saying there is a line item there.
Anyone have any insight they want to offer about the health department budget?
Most of their stuff comes from grants, yes.
I mean, that's how I understand it. That's what I hear a lot, so.
Here, on this page, miscellaneous health, he has total revenues.
Hold on, slow down, it's getting late. Yeah.
And then total expenditures.
Revenues of 246.5. We on the are we on the same page?
No.
Oh, all the way down at the bottom?
Total revenue, $1,326,000, and total expenditures, $1,308,000. Am I looking at the right thing? Oh, that's, yeah.
Well, and I think I saw
Right here.
1308537. Yeah, 1308537, that's on our single sheet.
Yes.
But then he's
So
showing
there's his
income.
revenue,
I wonder where,
326. And then he has, this one's here.
that doesn't show up anywhere on our income side.
What didn't show up on the income side?
His $1 million, I mean, I say he, I shouldn't say he, I apologize.
So it's under special, right? So it's under special funds.
Well-
2425, right? 024025
Oh, hang on.
on the one sheeter.
On the one sheeter, I see the expense of 024. Oh. County health is in a special fund line item, which means it doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying, yes, because it's not a general fund budgeted item.
Next,
Right.
Oh,
airport, also a special fund. Next. County
The airport did send something out later today. There was an
Yeah, but they don't, I mean, according to this sheet that I'm looking at,
I don't think we set their budget.
airport, $327,500 is in a special fund.
Yeah, that's a 023 special.
Also, the majority of their money comes from grants.
Right. I have 708 mental health.
Theirs is just a pass-through too. It's a levy. It's a levy.
Well, when Jessica sent it, one of the emails Jessica sent today, she said she was sending levy information
Oh,
because
community
that's coming up
services.
quick next, so.
That's the 708 board.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
levy.
separate from this, but it's,
So that's under,
she mentioned that, let's put it up here real quick. I'm so sorry.
If they have a arm behind them, you can do that.
public defender appears to be out of the general fund.
Didn't she talk about?
Yeah,
Amanda
wasn't that
talk
the
about public defender?
Fund and auto.
There's an income line for them too.
86,060.
Was that the other sheet she was talking about?
So part of the salary offsets there,
Mhm.
43,060.
Yeah, we need to, the public defender fund needs to be added to the revenue.
I thought I did that.
Yeah, I thought we
We
did.
did. It was the 86,065.
Yeah.
To total the 107,39661. That's what I have.
So Sunny,
in
do you
my
have your
notes
total on the revenue right now? It's 6,783,409.52.
6786975.
So I wonder what I missed.
Did we updated sheriffs to be more accurate?
Probation salary, I have at 178,000.
That is.
You talking the 43030?
That's right.
Public defender salary,
566.
I did not adjust that. That's $97,000 on this sheet. Is that right? Is 97,000 90% of 144?
Sunny, what
You doing
number you
that?
got again?
I'm sorry, what, 144,000, what percentage of that?
90%? This is set by statute at 90% of the state's attorney's salary. So the amount requested is 144,090. Public defender salary income is 97,000.
It's probably 66% also.
Okay. What was your question?
Where are you at on your spreadsheet again for the total?
6786975.
Okay, that was it. Thank you, Ted.
So you guys are, but have the same numbers?
Yeah.
The only thing that I updated the sheriffs to be more exact than what
Okay,
this reflected.
that's
She just
good.
didn't
I
know.
feel
I
like
didn't have that one. I missed that one.
I feel like that's good, right?
Yeah.
So we've already talked about public defender? Okay,
Amanda did. yeah,
okay.
for the
Well,
judge.
she was talking about the
His-
public defender fund. There is a,
Their fund.
public defender.
It's 026 on your one page.
Yeah, and then on the revenue side, it's 43060, public defender salary. Right now, it's at 97,000, but it would probably be the percentage of whatever.
Yeah, there was also another offset with the contingency, not the contingency, right? They're paying the additional outside counsel fee, right? So there was was that right, Sheriff? I mean, there's something about we have to pay conflicting counsel.
She had, yeah, was in her budget, the conflicting counsel. I have your public defender one.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So under the budget summary, what was the line item for public defender?
His salary?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not at 97.
26, okay. So 271,863.
Well, that's not his salary. That's expenses and everything.
That's
That's his total
everything.
budget.
So do we need to amend what we have in the revenue, which is the portion paid by the state, right?
They only pay the portion, well, I don't know what the salary is for this, I don't,
It must be this 97.
What's that?
It must be this 97.
That's what we have now, but a couple of the other ones we've had to update for,
what is the public defender salary?
that's what I'm trying to find. I'm not sure.
Oh, it's right here, public defender salary is 144,090.
144,090.
And we pay 66% of that?
That's what Brian said.
We pay or they pay?
I'm sorry.
We get reimbursed 66%.
Yeah, I think you're
The
fair,
state
you're
gets-
fair leaving it at 97,000.
Okay, thank you.
Are we about done?
Do we get reimbursed for any of the EMA salary? Do you know?
I think right now, no, they can, but my understanding is, I think that has to be a full-time position to be able to get that.
Never saw it as a line item in the.
I remember him saying we don't qualify.
It also opens up the door to grants, it's something that should be discussed.
Right.
Okay.
The next thing I have here is county board. That's all set by previous board. It's at 37.
It also hasn't been spent here.
Now 37% used. Yes.
Well, when,
Well, we budgeted 59,000. We've used 22,000, so I think that's remaining. This isn't even a budget. What is? Oh, that's why I got so. This is part of that. Started printing.
well, the 2024 budget was decreased from 2023, and I think that a big chunk of that was just a reduction in the number of committees.
I haven't turned in any compensation for committee meetings.
But I mean, when we reduce, when this
Yeah,
board
went
was
from
saying we
18 to
reduced,
7.
yeah, when we reduced the number of committees.
I have a sheet that looks like this. It says sell and error. Anybody know anything about that?
Sale
It's
and
on your
error?
webpage thing too.
The sale and error, I believe, is when something goes to tax sale and somebody buys a property on tax sale, and then they get in there and it's a bigger piece of,
Where's that at?
you know
Where is
what,
that?
than what they think it's
It's
gonna
also
be.
got, it's also got,
059,
So they
on
come
one
back with
page.
sale and error.
It's $18,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
this has also got IMRF on it, and Social Security, which are, they're in here. They're on the one sheeter.
What? Okay. The next thing I have is recording fee fund.
You have,
Micrographics, computer transfers.
back to that sale and error real quick, that's an in and out too. Because
Yes.
there's 18,000 listed on the
I didn't write it down.
revenue sheet as well.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe the sale and errors when, and Brian, you may know this, but when it goes to when a property goes to tax sale and somebody buys it and it ends up being a bigger dump than what they think, they find some error to do, say, sale and error, so then we refund the money that they paid to purchase the property. That's what I believe the sale and errors are. They call it a sale and error, but they basically return it and get their money back. So I think that's why it's a wash on revenue and expense.
You look like you have something new to say.
No, I was just doing math. I was just verifying that, I was keeping up with myself, but I didn't. That we had put the public defender fund in her notes and that you put it in there. She said that you did.
Yeah. Well, it was already here, to be fair.
He
The
just
public
put the
defender
numbers in.
Salary of 97,000 was already here. I did not.
No. As revenue, the defender
The
fund.
fund,
Right, in the income side,
But
97,000.
no.
It's a different spot.
This is it needs to be added to the revenue on the public defender fund.
Which you can't add the line item. It's gonna have to be.
So it doesn't exist.
Not yet.
Well, there's a public defender salary.
But that's
But
not
this is
it.
the-
If you
That's not it.
fund.
Hold on a second, if you go to, and I don't know if this is the right one, but if you go to 45-100, it says circuit clerk, /public defender, and it's got $750.
No,
Okay, so we're looking for something.
no, we've already discussed this.
This was earlier on when the judge said that it was
This was the
86,000.
Oh,
Mhm,
heavens.
86,000.
So when you're looking at your number, you're still 86,000 light that will be updated officially.
Recording fee fund, proposed budget, micrographics, computer, transfer to general fund, it's $85,000. Doesn't tell me where it's from or what it is or anything, just that it was filed September 20th.
What was the name of that one, Sonny?
Recording fee fund,
It's 042 on your single sheet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, 042 recording.
Recording
And that's a
fee.
special fund, so
yeah, so
sayonara.
do it. Okay, next I have Shelby County Dive Rescue Team, looks like a 2-pager. 25,000 is what's being asked for. I was looking at,
Is that on the single sheet,
It's not.
under 33, rescue for 50,000? Is that 50,000 the combination of the two?
it is,
That's what I thought, okay.
it is, that's what I was trying to look up, what was
Yeah.
under Benford and Brown from last year. Historically, and I don't know why, historically, the rescue and the dive have been on the same line item, and then they have separate internal budgets. But just rolling off of memory, it's roughly $25,000 a piece is what I recall.
Do we need to add
I mean-
line items for?
So what's interesting is it's in our 1-pager. I'm trying to get there, apologize. Where did you see that at, Martha?
33.
33, yeah. Okay.
So
Right.
this is the one-page
Rescue.
expenditure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1-page expenditure, it just simply says rescue squad, it says 50 grand.
Right, and then,
If I,
so dive is in here at 25, and then rescue's on the back at 25.
Yeah, they totaled both as soon as
Yes,
they were.
so-
But we don't need to break those up in the budget?
Never have they, Tad?
No,
Okay.
no, for the one-sheeter, no. Internally, then, they have their own separate.
right.
Okay.
Because each one of them have like, the dive has a 74,230 line,
And
But-
74,220 for rescue.
right, and then a 78,000, which I think they might share that for utilities, because this one here just has, well, no, it doesn't have utilities, because we don't pay utilities over there. And then training, yeah, and then the total is 25. I don't remember what their budget was in,
Same.
but I feel like that's very,
I think
What their budget was in what year?
I think it's the same.
yeah. Are they close
39
to,
last year, yeah.
are they close to spending that
Um,
on that sheet? I think that's,
37 remaining.
say it again.
Says they have 37 remaining.
Are you looking at the expense report?
The BTD,
The PTT.
the BTD report. we
That's
got?
what I was looking for.
Budget
so-
today, BTD, budget today.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, my
I guess my
brain.
point, oh, here we go. Rescue squad has spent 88%, so they're right, properly situated. Dive team has spent 81%, so I say if they're satisfied, anybody got any questions about that?
I think their budgets have been the same.
Yeah,
For some
rescue
years.
squad's same, rescue's asking for some line item creations. Have fuel and a training line item and equipment, vehicle maintenance. theirs is 23,342. Any questions or?
Do we need to add those line items?
Well, I think it goes back to when we passed this, they are created.
Okay, it automatically adds
I
them.
think we approve the overall budget
Okay,
and then they,
okay,
They-
that's,
that's the way we
not
kind of
anything I need to
understood
write
it.
down in my
I don't
notes.
think so.
So this is the BTD page, right?
For the corner?
Yeah, so skip that. I don't know how I got 4 pages of those. And then the last thing I have is the farm. Anybody else have anything else that I've skipped? Crop insurance, seed weed controls, the ask is down 18. Carol, did the farm committee work on this, or did you
No,
work
I
on?
did.
Okay,
I just kind of took it from what we had before.
okay.
If we're still farming, we probably, I didn't add as many inputs.
I don't
It
think,
would,
sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah,
It could be none of that, actually.
I understand.
Again, also, I mean, we're looking at the revenue line, right, depending on when that check is received.
Right. Right.
I mean, we're not gonna get to this in the next week,
No.
and we might have a better idea, but if that check shows up December 1, then the revenue line changes because then it's received in,
So the
About farm,
estimated,
Tad,
what's it
talk
called?
about the farm. Yeah, it's,
the estimated farm income for '24 was 170. What's been
That
realized
was
so
just
far
from
is
the wheat.
0.
well, we'll have the beans that
Yeah.
will be harvested in November sometime.
Was the wheat, what was realized in
Yes.
23
Yes,
at 117?
yes.
Okay. And so then we have that's a 0 for farm income on,
Because we didn't plant beans, so there was nothing else.
Right.
That was the only thing we had in 23, the first part of 23.
right.
It was harvested in July.
I think by the time we get to getting this thing accomplished, we'll have a better idea on when that revenue could show, because it may show
Right.
in '25.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on when the beans are harvested. And they were, they weren't planted till June the 15th, so it's gonna be late.
So I think I've gone through everything that I have received. Is somebody sitting on something that I did not cover?
Sonny, what did you say on the county board about the budget that they had for this year? What percentage of that has been used?
So I was looking at this sheet here. I don't know what, this sheet looks like to date. CJ.
Because on this one sheet thing, it says 69,475, and I thought something was said about 59. County board actual to date.
Member per diem is 61% has been used. Chairman per diem is 54%. Committee per diem is 21%. So a lot of you are not turning in.
So do
committee
you
per
have a
diem.
dollar figure to go with all those?
Oh, yeah. The budgeted amount
Yeah.
was 17,640 for member per diem. What's remaining is 6750.
From what you're saying, this seems high for the budget for the board.
Yeah, I think the difficult thing to
Oh,
try to
you're looking,
budget.
I
I'm
see,
looking at the one sheeter.
I see,
Yeah, the
okay.
69. And I think we budgeted 59 for this year. I think the
Yeah, it's
hard
gonna-
part to budget, Teresa, is how many people aren't gonna turn in.
So it looks like what was.
You know what I mean? There's been a lot of people on this board that haven't gotten paid for a lot of the
I've
committee
never,
meetings.
since I started 3
But,
years ago, turned in a
I mean,
committee.
who knows if the new board members will or won't? There's no way to tell.
What was budgeted was 59,640.
Yeah.
What is budgeted Now,
69,475.
Yeah, it's way
That's
too high.
$10,000 more.
I think that comes from 2 years ago. I don't know why it's that high.
It just seemed high from
Yeah.
what was being said.
The 2023
Oh, County
budget
Board,
was
69.
64,190. The 2024 budget was 59,640. So I'm not sure why,
Oh,
I'm not sure why it got reverted back to the 2023 numbers.
okay, okay.
Because I still say 59,640 is probably a little bit
That'd
high.
be, it'd be closer to being right, probably.
Yeah, but maybe even still high. 64, definitely not. So we need to make a note of that.
so I don't know about y'all, but I feel like I've drank from a garden hose tonight.
Are you gonna set another meeting? before you-
Absolutely. I feel like we're,
Can I ask a quick question for the minutes? I mean, with
Sure.
this- on the county board budget, do we need to go back to Jessica? Because right now in our one sheet item, it's at the 64 something,
69,470.
69,475. The budget for 2024 was 59 and some change, which we're not gonna hit. So do we need
change
to
it.
yeah, it looks
either
like
ask
that.
Jessica where where that figure came from?
Well,
if
it
there's-
looks like that number was probably input today, because it's highlighted in yellow.
So is it highlighted because she wants us to give her some feedback on?
The judge said that the highlighted amounts were amounts that she didn't have have a number for, and then she got the number and put them in.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's definitely something that we can address.
I'm just gonna put a note in the minutes about discussing what the appropriate budget amount is then. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Doesn't
And then
need to
are
be
you
higher
gonna-
than it was last, I wouldn't think it need to be any higher than it was this year.
Okay, so who wants to send her that email? Carol, would you like to send that to the clerk? Tell the clerk to lower that amount, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
To lower it
Yes.
to what it was this year?
Yes.
Just go back
To
to
match
this
the
year?
2024 budget?
What? You're giving me stink eye.
It's not stink eye. It's just, what I discussed with you today is looking at the calendar
I understand.
and backing into this, right? So, at the end of the day, what I'd like to eventually discuss or come up with is when we want to approve this thing, right? Knowing that that last week of the month is Thanksgiving week. Not ideal at all. But if this thing has to be hung
Yeah.
for public viewing for 15 days.
Correct.
So what day would we prefer to have a approval meeting with the full board? And then we gotta start backing into it from there.
So I'm not sure we can have that conversation here, but I understand what you're saying. And I think that's some conversations that we're gonna have to have. We have some questions that have arisen out of tonight. We're gonna have to come back and do some more.
We are, but what I'm saying is, if we can at least in spirit agree that we would do this, say, the 21st.
Well,
A special board meeting? We'd have to have a special board meeting
Yeah, but I'm-
to approve
that's-
the budget.
what I'm saying is I'm not sure we can be discussing that here.
If you reconsider public comment, you can.
Because we've got 7 in here of the full board. So we have a majority of the quorum. We should not be discussing anything that's not on the agenda, although I appreciate your concern.
Got it.
We're on review preliminary FY25 budgets as submitted. We've done that. I would entertain a motion that I don't expect I'll receive to discuss and vote on recommendations to the full board for approval. I'm not sure that we're prepared to discuss and vote on anything.
I just noted no action taken.
So, you guys have stuck it out. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to say something if you want to.
Appreciate where you guys are going.
Okay.
A lot of work went into this.
You stuck back in.
I did.
All in, all done? Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn, please.
I got one before you make that. If the next meeting, can you make it a little bit earlier in time?
Well, a lot of us have jobs and we're trying to get grain in and we're trying,
I know.
I'm trying to make this to where everybody can be here. Trust me, I've been at it since 7 o'clock this morning. I'm guessing you started a little earlier. So
4 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
We're, our intent is not to run off the public, but we also,
Start that early.
Did I
You
get
know-
a second? I'm sorry.
I motioned that we adjourn. Is there a second?
I made the motion.
Oh, Martha makes the
I'll
motion.
second it.
Carol seconds it.
Can I say that I have not been to bed since I went to work at 7 o'clock last night?
Right, so we, there's a lot of things to consider, a lot
You
of
didn't do
moving
it,
parts.
Sonny, you didn't do it all in favor.
I'm trying to.
Oh.
All in favor of adjourn, say aye. It's the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Motion carries.
And I'm gonna go home and go to bed right now.
Thank you guys
10:25?
for all the effort.
See if it works.
God, dog.
Okay.
How's that bench?
They say that you're still on the phone.
I feel like we got.
Right, we are still on camera, we are still audio.
I feel like I've been beaten with this before.
Yeah, how's that bench feel, all right?
That baby, nice, that's a choice.
Hey, Julie. I mentioned that I would send you the last finance committee draft minute. I think Lori's got some amendments she would like me to make to them.
Do I have,
Now, remember when we talked?
but does that have to be for the agenda?
Well, there's already an agenda item on there to
Yes, but that's
approve,
just for the meeting itself, right, the minutes?
to approve last month.
Yeah,
And I was gonna send you,
but I can put the agenda out.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted you to know why I was delayed in,
I just wanna make sure that, you know,
the agenda for
all that
that,
stuff that Jessica's going on.
the agenda for that meeting has hardly ever changed.
You hadn't figured out what it was? No, I picked it up and set it down, because
Every email
I kept
that-
looking around it to see Heather.
On the weekend.
Thank you for setting up the camera, Martha.
You're welcome.